What do you mean that the two Umbu groups never made it back to the village? Tsunade raged at Shizun, who just looked apologetically at the Hokage. Tsunade, our rescue team has informed us that they have been killed by Naruto. There was not a single survivor, but we did manage to locate his hiding place and searched through it for information. I can't believe it, 2 of our best Umbu squads just got slaughtered by that filthy brat. So the rumors were true. Somehow, he has managed to attain a higher level of strength and power, because even if he did win the fight, no doubt that he would have been seriously injured as well. Shizun, did they find the brat's body or tracks? What did you manage to recover from his house? Tsunade asked her assistant. Our efforts were to no avail. All we managed to find were some clothes, gunpowder, knives, and an old photograph, she replied as he handed over the framed photo of Naruto and Sakura taken during their wedding day. Tsunade couldn't help but feel sad, as her heart still had not fully recovered from her student's passing. She had lost a great medic and an even greater friend. She had treated Sakura as if she was her own daughter and imbued all her medical knowledge and fighting techniques into the pink-haired girl. Tsunade, are you alright? Shizun asked her gently as Tsunade slowly opened her eyes and heaved a heavy sigh. I'm fine. I just lost my thoughts, but I still don't understand how our ninja dogs couldn't sniff out that bastard's scent. That's the strange thing, Hokage-sama. His smell just stopped in the middle of the forest with no tracks whatsoever. However, the dogs did pick up another foreign scent but couldn't identify it. Damn him. It's no point sending hordes of Umbu after him because he is just going to kill them all anyway. I guess that I have no choice but to let him be for a while now. We have lost too many men, including Niji, and Kakashi is still in the hospital. We'll just wait till he shows his face in the village again, and when he does, we will be prepared to capture him dead or alive. Tsunade growled as Shizun gave her a small smile and nodded. You will be happy to know that Hatake-san has been discharged from the hospital and will be returning from the Hidden Mist village with Shikamaru's team. Word around town is that he saved the Mizukage's life. She laughed as Tsunade just gave another snort. I would expect nothing less from that man, but his return will be timely as we will be able to gather more intelligence regarding Naruto and his motives. As Shizun stepped out of her office, Tsunade just clenched her fists in frustration as she stole another glance at the tuxedo-clad Naruto in the photograph. What happened to the boy that I had so much hope and faith in? You were destined to become a great Hokage, but you just threw it away, stupid brat, she muttered as the beaming visage of the 10-year-old whiskered boy popped into her head. Back in Gotham, Naruto gingerly rubbed his thumb over the visible hole in his Deathstroke suit as the countless battles have taken its toll on the fabric, and that last battle with the Umbu was the breaking point. Ordinary needle and thread won't do much for my costume. I have no idea where I am going to get the stuff needed to fix the hole in it, and I doubt Zatanna could conjure me up a brand new suit. I guess it was one of those things Slade forgot to mention. He stuffed his suit in his knapsack and hopped into the bathroom to take a shower. As he turned on the faucet to let the hot water engulf him, last night's incidents came hurtling back to him. The murder at the theater, the confrontation with Cheshire, the proposal of recruiting a team of villains to carry out his mission, and not to mention the headache of finding suitable members who were interested in the raising of the Hidden Leaf Village. Captain something I have never been called my entire life. Looks like I have expectations to live up to. I can't afford to screw this mission up because everyone is putting their life on the line, including myself, he murmured as he stepped out of the shower and got dressed. Naruto? Are you in there? It's time for breakfast. Zatanna knocked on his door and Naruto gave a small smile as he poked his head outside and gestured for an extra 5 minutes. Zatanna will probably castrate me if she finds out my ulterior motives, but why the hell should she care? These guys are already wasting their life being in and out of prison, so why should one more mission be a problem? He continued thinking as he packed his knapsack and quickly stuffed the piece of paper with Cheshire's number scrawled on it into his pocket. So Zatanna, what's for breakfast? I'm in the mood for some scrambled eggs and porridge, he grinned as he stepped into the kitchen to find her tucking into a tub of low-fat Greek yogurt, oatmeal cereal, and a glass of milk. I guess not then. I'll just have some toast and coffee, although I would have figured that you were a woman who watched what she ate. Naruto smirked as the magician raised an eyebrow at him and set down her tub. Really? What gave it away? The cartons of celery juice or the packets of oatmeal? She laughed as Naruto popped in 2 pieces of bread into the toaster. Neither. It's only natural that you didn't get that body of yours just by fighting criminals and prancing about on stage. Zaydna was lost for words as the blonde mercenary chuckled to himself as he could feel her struggle to come up with a good response. I actually do spar occasionally and I hit the gym regularly, but what exactly are you implying? That you have a very alluring figure, Naruto chuckled as Zaydna turned a light shade of pink before pulling down her white tank top which displayed her ample cleavage. Stop being such a pervert, you idiot. But then again, am I one of the best looking girls that you have seen? She teased him as Naruto hummed a tune before joining her at the table. If I say yes, would you make me a proper breakfast tomorrow because I really miss your cooking, he replied as she scoffed and flicked a piece of oatmeal on his face. Naruto, we need to talk about last night though. I want to know if you knew anything about the murder at my theater and the assassination of Mark Bowden. I'm not accusing you of anything, but I just think that you showing up here, covered in blood and injuries, is quite unsettling, she said seriously as she folded her arms and stared into his steely blue eyes. Zaydna caught a glimpse of a ghost of a frown before he broke into a placid smile and shrugged. Like I said, I was cornered by some street thugs who wanted to rob me, so I taught them a thing or two. As for the murder at the theater, I wasn't even there at that time, so I don't know anything about it. You'd think I'd actually kill someone in your world and send the Justice League after my ass? No way, he replied confidently, but she still wasn't convinced. You're hiding something, Naruto, and I want to know what it is. Look, I promise I'm not going to turn you into Batman or the Justice League if you did it. I just want to know what happened to you because you looked like hell last night, she reassured him as Naruto didn't even flinch. That is the truth. I don't know anything about the murder and I'm not scared of Batman, Zaydna. He may be the protector of this city, but I have done no wrong, he replied stubbornly as Zaydna finally hardened and gave him an ultimatum. Fine. If I do find out that you lied to me, I'm going to send you back to where you came from after I kick you sorry ass. And for the record, if you mess with me, you mess with Batman. Trust me, you do not want to get on his bad side. She tried her best to give an authoritative look as Naruto just listened in silence and took another bite out of his toast. Are you sure that you want to follow through with your threat? Of course. I don't make promises that I can't keep. Naruto gulped down the last morsel of toast before turning to face her. She bore the look of concern and frustration as the mercenary gave a small sigh. I discovered the dead body in the men's bathroom last night, so I decided to teach the culprits a lesson. I saw Mark Bowden leaving the theater with a man who had a gun in his coat pocket, so I took off after them. When I reached his place, someone already did my job for me as that bastard was lying dead on the floor. Then, I beat up a few thugs on the way home, he told her. This man with the gun, do you think that he might be the murderer? That woman was the representative of the nuclear power plant. He was probably hired by someone to take out Bowden and the lady because the deal for nuclear weapons fell through, and I'm guessing that his employer wanted that to happen. She looked thoughtfully as Naruto shrugged. It's possible. I could try and find him if you want. After all, don't you want to bring him to justice? He offered, but Zaydna shook her head and got up. It's fine, Naruto. Gotham PD is already working on the case, and I assure you that Commissioner Gordon is one of the best on the job. Hey, Zaydna. I'm sorry for making you worry last night. I didn't mean to come back so late, but I had to take care of business. I'll see you at dinner, he smiled as the sorceress rubbed her chin playfully as she sauntered over to him and traced a circle on his chest with her finger. Sure, what are we having tonight? I hope that you're cooking because I'll be too tired to do it, she said flirtatiously as Naruto pushed her away. I'll buy back some pizza? To be honest, I'm a lousy chef, he said jokingly as she let out a small grunt much to his amusement. Alright, even though we just had it a couple of days ago, but only because I don't want you blowing up my kitchen. The neighbors will be pretty shocked if I fixed it in a few minutes. Zaydna. Naruto called out to her as she was preparing to enter her bedroom. Yes. Your show isn't half bad at all. I liked that snow act of yours. Mind giving me a private show one of these days? He winked as Zaydna glowed at his praise. Perhaps, but I think that you want another kind of private show from me, and frankly, I don't do house calls, she giggled as Naruto smirked before exiting her apartment. Zaydna bit her lip as she didn't feel comfortable with Naruto's sudden boisterous behavior. Something isn't right. This isn't how he usually acts. I've been with him for a couple of days and I'm pretty sure that he is still the same sullen, cold, and grumpy man. He is definitely hiding something. I would shadow him today, but I have to get to the theater to clean up the mess that he found, she thought as she changed into her usual outfit. If Bruce finds out about Naruto living with me, there would be no end to the interrogations and questioning, and I don't think that I want to get involved, so I'm just hoping that Naruto doesn't do something stupid today. Naruto sat on a bench at the park and kept on rereading the text message that Cheshire had sent him. "Just give me a call and I'll meet you there," were her last words to him before she left Boden's mansion. Naruto left the park and slipped into the alley as he quickly dialed Cheshire's number and pressed the phone against his ear. "Yes, Naruto, this is Cheshire speaking. What can I do for you?" A sultry reply from the other end of the line was heard as Naruto snorted and whispered furiously. "Where are you now? I want to meet up to discuss about the Titans." "Of course, Captain, but I'm a bit busy right now," she purred as he heard the sound of agonizing screams in the background. "Another day at the office, I presume." You can say that, but I'm almost done. These guys aren't even putting up a decent fight," she said as she slashed another man's throat with her dagger. "Don't get cocky with me, Cheshire. Where do I meet you?" he growled as she hummed before snapping her fingers. "Meet me at the crime alley in East End. I'll be there in an hour." "Crime alley? Is that really its name? It sounds like a big joke to me," he said as Cheshire just smirked in from the other side and huffed. "Well, that is the name of the rendezvous, so don't you forget it, Captain. Besides, you might be able to scout around for some new team members there, since that part of town is crawling with notorious criminals, just dying to rip someone's throat out. Who knows? Maybe they might rip yours out if you're not careful," she chuckled as Naruto's blood began to boil. "I don't remember asking for your opinion. You're just pissing me off right now, scumbag. And if that's the case, I will go and check out this crime alley. I might be able to recruit some less irritating members," he replied sardonically, much to Cheshire's amusement. "Don't be late. I won't stand for tardiness in my team, you got that?" "Whatever you heart desires, Captain," she laughed before ending the call. He proceeded to pull out the map of Gotham and traced his finger till he found the red dot which marked East End of Gotham. "It's not too far from here. I think I'll be able to get there in half an hour," he thought as he stuffed the map into his knapsack and exited the dark alley. Naruto noticed the change in atmosphere and volume of people as he segued from the heart of Gotham to the East End. Pristine buildings and gargantuan skyscrapers were replaced with dilapidated shop houses and abandoned towers. The cacophonous mixture of people's voices and honking vehicles were quickly forgotten as an eerie silence hung in the air. This reminded him of the slums or even an abandoned community. Naruto was unperturbed by the ominous and dangerous vibe that he felt as he entered the east of Gotham. There were fights everywhere and people were being chased all over the place. Each one of them wielded some sort of weapon ranging from an ordinary Glock to an Uzi submachine gun. Victims' screams and pleas were unanswered as the police were not able to handle so many criminals at once. "Geez, this place certainly lives up to its name. Why the hell did Cheshire ask me to meet her here? Couldn't she have just settled for a local bar or something? These bastards are pissing me off just by looking at me." All activities ceased as Naruto casually strolled through the crossfire of nefariousness without even batting an eyelid, which surprised everyone present as the blonde didn't seem to mind the atrocities that were rolled out in front of his azure eyes. "I wonder where I should wait for that scumbag? Everywhere seems to be a mess," he muttered to himself, much to the amusement of the criminals. They left their initial activities and slowly approached the mercenary from all directions with a maniacal and evil glint in their eyes. Guns were drawn and knives and were sharpened as the other citizens slinked back in fear for his safety. "Hands in the air and cough up your valuables if you spare your miserable little life," a skinny man threatened as he pointed the barrel of his gun to Naruto's forehead. The blonde merely stopped momentarily before clicking his tongue and sidestepping the enraged thug. "Hey, are you deaf? I said give me the fucking money or I'll blow you bloody brains out," he screamed as Naruto shot him a weary look before continuing his walk. The sounds of gunshot rang through the air as the man emptied his chamber into the back of the blonde's head. Some passerbys could only cover their mouths with their hands as they failed to comprehend the thug's cruelty. Well, fuck you asshole, the thug laughed as Naruto began to sway before regaining his composure, much to the amazement of the thug. Is that the best you got? If so, then please don't waste my time. I don't have the time to deal with small fries like you. Besides, a lobotomy packs a bigger punch to my head than that ant bite, he said calmly as he spun around and cracked his knuckles. Everyone was catatonically rooted to the spot as he had just survived 5 shots to the head. The thug began shaking as he fumbled to reload his gun, but Naruto calmly dashed to him and cracked his neck with a shift of his hands. The other thugs began firing their machine guns and rifles at the mercenary, who calmly dodged the incoming bullets and proceeded to toss a grenade to the center of the circle. It's a grenade. Watch out, they roared as a big explosion engulfed the vicinity and blinded the citizens. Naruto hid behind a van as he sniffed contemptuously at the charred remains of the thugs standing there before. Don't push your luck, you weaklings, he sneered as he stole a glance from his watch, which read 4:30. He sighed as he approached a terrified woman who quickly wrapped her arms around her young daughter and shielded her from him. Miss, you don't need to worry because I'm not going to harm you or your daughter or any of these innocent people. I just want to know where I could find something to eat, he inquired as he gave her a small smile and extended his hand towards her. The woman hesitated before pointing towards a local diner. Are you even human? She squeaked as Naruto raised a blonde eyebrow and just scratched his head. Yes, I am. But I seem to act more like a monster nowadays, and that really can't be helped. Thanks for the directions anyway, he chuckled before strolling to the dingy-looking diner. I could use a sandwich and a glass of beer if this dump of a place has them, he thought to himself as he prepared to push the entrance door. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the perimeter as Naruto was sent hurtling inside the diner. He spat out a wad of blood as he looked at the gaping hole in his chest, which had lacerated skin and bones surrounding it. Are you the guy who blew up my men in the streets? A deep voice boomed in front of the mercenary. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the tall figure standing in front of him with a shotgun in his hand. The figure wore a brown leather jacket, black trousers with combat boots, and had a red mask with 2 holes for eyes. Yeah, I am. What's the big idea blasting me right through my chest with a shotgun? You could have killed me, you know, he snorted as he picked himself up from the floor and folded his arms. That shot should have killed you, and yet, you are still standing as if it was just a punch to the face. I don't think that you're human, but I don't give a damn what you are because you just killed my team, the red-masked figure roared as he fired a few more shots towards the mercenary who hid behind the diner counter and rifled through his knapsack for his Berettas. I'm not going to let you off the hook for that, but you still haven't answered my question yet. Who or what are you? The figure said as he slowly entered the diner and drew his magnum pistols. It is pointless if I tell you because you are going to take that information to the grave anyway, you bastard, Naruto replied as he jumped over the counter and fired his Berettas at the man. The figure dodged all his shots before firing a shot which hit Naruto in the leg. He winced in pain as the figure rushed towards him while continuing to fire. You just won't stay down, will you? The figure said as Naruto got hit a few more times but still managed to evade the incoming hail of bullets. I never did like the passive approach, he retorted as he did a somersault and threw a tear gas canister towards the figure, who quickly pulled a gas mask from his pocket. Wore it. Tear gas won't work on me, you fool, because I came prepared. How about you stop hiding like the rodent you are and finish the fight, you coward, he yelled as he dropped his pistols and drew his favorite dagger. The figure moved quietly across the room, searching through every booth as he looked for Naruto. His eye twitched as he suddenly spun around and sent the blonde crashing into the jukebox with a swift kick to the face. That's one of the worst attempts to sneak up on me. Your footsteps are as heavy as an elephant's and I could sense your breathing from a mile away, the figure lectured Naruto, who groggily shook his head before dodging another oncoming kick. I don't need to be lectured by a tomato-wearing thug on fighting techniques, he grunted in response as he sent the masked figure tumbling into a booth with an uppercut. Naruto proceeded to charge at him and send a flurry of punches as the figure couldn't keep up and was eventually dealt a beating. The figure lay on the ground panting as Naruto prepared to land the finishing blow on him. As Naruto swung his fist forward, the masked figure rolled to the side with ease and stabbed his side with his dagger. A stab won't do you much good, I'm afraid, Naruto smirked as the masked figure coolly got up from the floor and laughed. It will when the blade is laced with king cobra venom from the Amazon forest. The venom should quickly spread through your body and sever your nervous system soon. You will die a quick and painful death, he said as he repeatedly punched the mercenary. Naruto's vision began to blur and his head began to start spinning. Damn it, even with my regeneration abilities, it will take some time for my body to produce the antidote. I didn't think that his venom would be this potent. Naruto swung a punch wildly as the figure calmly sidestepped him and sent him crumbling to the ground with a big punch to the cheek followed by a judo chop to the neck. Hey cherry head, not a bad move with the poison. Would you mind granting a dying man's last wish? What is your name? Naruto feigned innocence as the masked figure put his foot firmly on his chest and stared at him. It's Red Hood to you. You're not bad for a little punk, but I don't think that I could have let you live for killing my friends. We don't need any more criminals fucking this town over, especially since none of them are ever killed by that idiot anyway, Red Hood muttered. I'm Naruto Uzumaki and I'm guessing that this idiot is Batman, he mused as the Red Hood's sullen expression changed into an angry one. That's right. So it's up to me bring scum like you to justice because nobody should be able to do as they please and not face the consequences. Wait, you should be dead by now. The venom should have killed you. What is happening? Red Hood said angrily as Naruto fished a lighter from his pocket and smirked. Playtime is over, Red, because I'm expecting a friend soon and I don't want to be tardy. Just close your eyes because this is going to hurt for the both of us, Naruto replied as the Red Hood growled in response. What are you babbling about? The young blonde tossed the lighter into the air and the last thing that both of them remembered was a massive explosion which engulfed both of them and sent the whole place crumbling to the floor. The Gotham Fire Brigade was alerted as they rushed to the scene to put out the towering flames while the Gotham police evacuated the citizens to safety and secured the area. The acrid smell of roasted flesh and blood wafted through the cool and crisp air as a bloodied and singed Naruto weakly picked himself out of the rubble and crawled over to the unconscious and equally injured Red Hood whose mask had been blown off to reveal a young face with raven hair. Are you always this wild, Naruto? Cheshire purred from the top of the tree as she hopped down and helped the blonde to his feet. No, and I'm still pissed because you're an hour late. I'm sorry, but I had to find a good place to dispose of the dead bodies. What made you go ballistic? She said, amused as she scoured the burning remains and the unconscious body of Red Hood. I'll tell you when we get back, but grab that man and let's get out of here. Could we seek refuge at your place? Cheshire frowned as she valued her privacy and didn't fancy the idea of strange men using her apartment as a hospital, but then again, this was her leader asking. She shrugged and propped the unconscious man across her shoulders before the trio disappeared from the arson scene. Commissioner, all the surveillance cameras within a 2-mile radius have been severed due to the magnitude of the blast, but some witnesses said that they saw the Red Hood getting involved in a fight in the diner right before it exploded. Batman told Commissioner Jim Gordon, who just furrowed his eyebrows and adjusted his glasses. Red Hood, eh? He has been awfully low-key so far, but I couldn't possibly understand why he would want to cause a ruckus in Crime Alley. This place doesn't have any connections to his crime syndicate, Jim replied as Batman merely nodded. Jim, the Red Hood's objective is to control crime all over Gotham and not just the main city. Even if it means getting his hands dirty with the East End, no doubt that he would probably do something about it, he replied stoically as he spied the charred lighter and tear gas canister belonging to Naruto beneath a pile of wood. Find anything? Jim inquired the masked hero, who merely narrowed his eyes and spun around to the police commissioner. A possibility that this was no accident. Jim, we might be dealing with another villain over here. Round up your team and search for other clues. What about you? Jim faltered as Batman had disappeared into thin air once again. Back in the Batcave. Master Bruce, it's time for supper. Master Tim is already in the dining hall and eagerly waiting your arrival. I do not think that he would fancy waiting till you finish your analysis, Alfred told Bruce, who continued analyzing the lighter and the canister. Methane gas? That explains the large explosion, but who would be crazy enough to set a whole room full of methane gas ablaze? I don't think that Jason would do such a thing. It might have killed him. Alfred, I think that we are dealing with a metahuman here, Bruce told his butler, who raised an eyebrow. Quite possibly, Master Bruce. I don't think that anyone else would be crazy enough to pull off such a ridiculous stunt. It might have killed the both of them, but I'm sure that Master Jason isn't the loony one, Alfred replied as Bruce carried out a DNA scan on both the items, but the screen stated that no matches could be found. Alfred, isn't this strange as well? The fingerprints on these items don't have a match with anyone in the data. Could the perpetrator possibly be skilled enough to cover his own fingerprints, or is he not human? Alfred seemed slightly puzzled at the result and placed a gloved hand on the billionaire's shoulder. The latter would be more sensible, Master Bruce, seeing that he is not entirely human, and the fact that the computer is not able to even identify a single match baffles me. Master Bruce, Master Tim seems to be calling for you. Tell him that I'll be there in 5 minutes, Alfred. Bruce smiled at the butler, who nodded and left the Batcave to placate the hungry sidekick. Bruce tapped his finger on the table as his computer failed to find any DNA match. I know one person that should be able to track this perpetrator down. I hope that Zatanna is in, he thought to himself as he wore back his cowl and went to find her. So what's the story? You've been awfully quiet, Cheshire purred as the both of them entered her apartment. She dumped the body on the couch as Naruto sat in the kitchen and sighed. Do you have a medical kit or something? I don't want him to die just yet because he is our newest addition to our team. Cheshire? Cheshire, he called out as a beautiful woman with tanned olive skin, jade-colored eyes and long flowing black hair who wore a blue kimono came out of the bathroom. You can call me Jade, Naruto. I wouldn't want you to keep using my alias in public because it might raise suspicions. Did you have something to say? Yeah. This Red Hood guy is our newest team member. His combat skills are exceptional and he seems to have a vast knowledge on poisons and weapons. We might have stumbled across another top mercenary, Naruto said as Cheshire's eyes widened. Did you say Red Hood? He is the biggest crime lord in Gotham at the moment since Black Mask was incarcerated in Arkham Asylum again. I don't think that a man like him would agree to join you in your little quest for redemption, she said airily as Naruto dipped a piece of gauze in hydrogen peroxide and began cleaning Red Hood's wounds. It will be a bigger problem if his wounds become infected. I'm just doing this to keep him alive, so wipe that grin off your face, Naruto growled as Jade simply waltzed to the cupboard and poured herself a glass of whiskey. Want me to pour you a glass, Naruto? She smiled as the blonde merely grunted in response. It would be good if there was some ice to go with it, he hinted as she just chuckled and added a few ice cubes into the bronze-colored liquid. Crap, I forgot that I was supposed to pick up some pizza for Zatanna and I. She is going to murder me, he thought to himself as his watch read 8:30. Jade, could you tend to Red Hood while I make an important phone call? Fine. Who are you calling anyway? Your girlfriend, she snickered as he shot her an irritated look before stepping outside her apartment. Hello. Zatanna, it's Naruto here. I'm so sorry that I forgot to pick up pizza for the both of us. I got carried away at the bar with some new friends of mine and I didn't realize that I was on dinner duty tonight. I promise that I will make it up to you, so please don't be angry, he blurted out. There was a pause on the other side before she gave a small laugh, much to his relief, as Zatanna couldn't help but feel happy for him. It's fine, Naruto. I'm just glad that you're able to find some new friends so quickly since you told me that you didn't have any friends back in your world. What are they like? She smiled as Naruto couldn't help but feel delighted that she was actually concerned about him. Well, they are tourists who happen to be a married couple, but boy, they could outdrink me. They must have the stomach of a camel, he replied as the enchantress giggled. I'm going to crash at their place if that's fine with you. I guess that should be fine. Where is their place? It's at the north end of Gotham. It's not a hotel because they rented an apartment, he replied. Well, I see. Enjoy yourself, Naruto, and just promise me that you'll stay out of trouble, she said seriously as Naruto bit his lip before coughing out his response. Sure thing, and Zatanna. Yes. I already miss you, he whispered as Zatanna gripped the phone tighter to her ear and swallowed the lump in her throat. Really? Well, I'm flattered and all, but sycophantic drivel isn't going to work on me. Now go and enjoy the rest of the night. Your friends are waiting for you, she blushed as Naruto grinned and smiled at his phone. You enjoy yourself too, and I'll see you tomorrow, he said before ending the call. Who is the lucky lady? A sultry voice came from behind as he quickly spun around to see Jade's wide smirk. He turned purple and pushed her out of his way. None of your business, Jade. She is just a friend of mine, but anyway, how is Red Hood holding up? He asked as Jade just followed him back to the living room. Why don't you ask him yourself, she said as he frowned and was met with the angry glare of Red Hood from the couch. Oh, you're awake? I didn't expect you to be conscious till tomorrow. Cut the crap, bastard. Where am I and who the hell is she? Wait, you're Naruto or something like that, right? It's Naruto, and I believe that you might have heard of the assassin, Cheshire. Her real name is Jade, and don't you forget it. Oh, and why not? Red Hood challenged him. Because that's an order from your team leader, he said simply as Red Hood began to burst into peals of laughter. Team leader? What are you? A nut job? You and I are enemies, and I still don't get how you are still alive after that explosion. That's right. Where the hell did that come from? Are you some kind of meta-human with the power of fire? Naruto and Jade exchanged a glance before they broke out into a small laugh, much to Red Hood's chagrin. You've got the meta-human part right, but no, I don't have the power of fire. That canister of tear gas which I threw contained a high volume of methane gas mixed in it. Methane is a colorless and odorless gas, so you couldn't smell it. When it is mixed with oxygen in the air, it becomes a very volatile and combustible mixture which explodes upon contact with heat. When I threw that lighter into the air, that was enough to ignite the whole room, he explained, and Jade looked genuinely impressed at the blonde. Red Hood was sullen, but he just shrugged as he knew that he had lost fair and square, but mostly due to his complacency and lack of awareness. You're a strong man to be able to survive a blast like that. I was kind of hoping that you wouldn't be dead because I could use someone like you on my team. What do you say, mister? Naruto continued. Jason Todd. Just call me Jason. What team? But what kind of meta-human are you? You seem pretty ordinary to me. I'm actually Deathstroke, or in other words, Slade's successor, he said calmly as he began repeating his story to Jason, who snorted in disgust. No wonder I haven't been seeing him around Gotham much. I thought that Batman had managed to dispose of him, but turns out that he got sent to another dimension. I don't know what he was thinking though, passing on the mantle to a runt like you who comes from God-forsaken village where ninjas live. However, he must have seen some potential in you, because knowing him, he would never waste his time tutoring someone who wasn't worth his time. You have a way of complimenting people, you know that. Naruto laughed. Slade was always too full of himself and thought that he could never be caught. I guess that age finally caught up to him. No wonder you're able to survive my poison and that explosion. You have a regenerative ability. Thanks for the offer, but I'm not interested in joining your little band of merry men. I have a job to do. But he was cut off by Jade. Jason Todd? You were Batman's old sidekick, weren't you? I thought that you had been killed by the Joker, but I guess that it was a false report. But anyway, aren't all your motives and plans fueled by revenge against Batman and criminals? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that you're just an anti-hero. You carry out organized crime and yet, you want to keep Gotham safe, Jade said as Jason clenched his fists and grit his teeth. You shouldn't have mentioned that old fool. I still haven't forgiven him yet for letting that clown kill me. I guess there isn't any point in lying to you guys since you're not affiliated with the Bat. Yes, I plan to ensure that all the criminals in Gotham get the punishment that they deserve, and the only way to control the crime in the city is by keeping track of it or becoming a crime lord come hero myself. Sure, I carry out my own business and kill a few people here and there, but you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. Well, close enough anyway. Join my team, Jason, because I need someone who shares my interest in revenge and is not afraid of shedding some blood in order to achieve a bigger goal. I'll even throw in $2 million if we succeed, he offered as Jason still looked skeptical at him. I don't need your money, and what do I possibly hope to gain from killing this friend of yours and torching some old village? I have an organization to run as well, he growled. Naruto heaved a heavy sigh and got up, but Jade beckoned him towards her and whispered something into his ear. His blue eyes began to grow wide and his lip curled into a smirk. Jason, what if I gave you $2 million and since I'm a mercenary, you use that sum to hire me to take out other rival crime lords, perhaps Black Mask? A guy like him will break out of Arkham in no time. Well, what do you say? I don't need your help. I can take out Black Mask myself. And have Batman hot on your heels again? I don't think that you would want that. A reunion with your old partner, Jade said breezily as Jason flared up and barked at her. You better watch that mouth of yours, you bitch, or I'll sew it shut for you. Jade just gave him a dangerous look as Naruto stepped between them and glared at the both of them. Jade, that's enough. Don't take too much into his empty threats, and Jason, what's it going to be? If you refuse, I'm afraid that I'll just leave and let Jade take care of you. She might drop you back at your house or the nearest morgue, he said as Jason knew that he couldn't do anything in his state. Well, he has a point. I don't want Bruce to come after me just yet. If Naruto takes out Black Mask, Bruce and him can play cat and mouse while I'm able to continue doing my own thing. Besides, I don't really want to kill Bruce anymore anyway, he thought to himself. Fine, Deathstroke. Just call me Naruto. Naruto. I'll join your team and help you with your mission, but you better keep your end of the bargain after that, or I swear that it's the last thing you'll ever do, Jason warned Naruto, who broke into a big grin and shook his hand. Don't worry. A mercenary always carries out his job when he is paid to do so. But anyway, welcome to the Titans, he said merrily as Jade gave a small sarcastic clap of elation. Well, aren't we going to discuss our plans now that we're all here? Jason yawned as Naruto shook his head and placed his hand on Jason's bandaged shoulder. We will do that tomorrow, but tonight, we should get a good night's rest because it's been a long day, plus you need to regain your strength. Jade, is it alright if I sleep in the spare room? Naruto asked the Vietnamese assassin, who seemed reluctant at first but eventually relented. Good night, Jason, and sorry if I was a bit too rough on you today, Naruto chuckled before closing his door. Jade merely nodded at the fugitive before turning off the lights and entering her room. Jason wouldn't admit it, but secretly, he felt excited again to be part of a team and to have some interesting partners to cooperate with. Being the solitary figurehead for controlled crime in Gotham wasn't very appealing to his friends, and before he knew it, his friends had deserted him in fear of incurring his wrath. He had lived without friends for a long time, and every time he was in Crime Alley, it evoked nostalgic memories of his first encounter with Batman and the day that he became Robin. He was getting a decent deal out of this whole ordeal, and let's face it, he was curious to work alongside Slade's prodigy as well as the famous Cheshire. It seemed to him that they were forming a team of mercenaries, but Naruto had great faith in him and was persistent in persuading Jason to join his team that the Red Hood couldn't help but feel just the slightly bit flattered. Jason knew that there was animosity between his new team members and they got off on the wrong foot, but he hoped that they could build a bond of trust or even friendship in the future, because an opportunity like this was always rare. In Zaydna's apartment. Zaydna was preparing to go to bed when she felt a strong gust of wind blow past her as the windows gave a whimpering creak. She couldn't help but give a small smile as she didn't bother to turn around and merely continued walking towards the kitchen. Bruce, it's great to see you after so long, but couldn't you have come just a little earlier? I was just going to hop into my warm bed and call it a night, she chuckled as the caped crusader silently emerged from the shadows. Zaydna, I have a favor to ask of you. I'm sure that you heard about the massive arson attack or explosion which took place in Crime Alley this afternoon. I have reason to believe that Red Hood was ambushed by an unknown assailant which might have taken him somewhere. Batman showed her the canister of methane gas and she slowly took it from his gloved hand and inspected it. The perpetrator released a large volume of methane gas into the air and ignited it, causing a big enough explosion to wipe out an entire skyscraper. I need you to use your powers to track down the culprit because he isn't from this world, Batman said darkly as Zaydna's azure eyes grew wide at the last sentence of his explanation. It can't be no, she thought to herself as she remembered her recent phone call with Naruto. Bruce's eyes narrowed as he could see the change in her expression, and he quickly marched in front of her and folded his arms across his chest. Zaydna, if you know something, I expect answers because I don't want to have to interrogate you or prosecute you under the rules of the League, he continued as the magician regained her composure and squared her chin to his. Bruce, I was just thinking about the dozens of lives that could have been lost if it had been released into the streets of Gotham. I am not hiding anything from you, and I don't think that you should be threatening someone who you are asking a favor from, she snapped as Bruce merely narrowed his eyes. Fine, but I need you to lead me to the culprit, or more importantly, give me a visual image of him since he isn't registered in the Bat computer's database. Zaydna nodded and began to sense the spiritual energy emanating from the canister. Her eyes began to glow a faint white as she began chanting a string of spells as Bruce eagerly anticipated the results. Zaydna was busy sifting through the mantras of all the people who touched it in her mind, but her thoughts came to a juddering halt when an image of Naruto removing the pin and tossing it onto the ground cropped up. So it was him, that bastard. He said that he was at his friend's place. I am going to castrate that blonde buffoon once he comes back, but I promised him that I wouldn't tell Bruce about him. But Naruto just committed arson and crime on Gotham grounds and I can't just let that slide, she thought to herself. Zaydna, do you see anything or anyone out of the ordinary? Bruce asked as Zaydna silently shook her head and continued sifting through the mantras. Nothing out of the ordinary yet, Bruce, she replied as the Dark Knight just growled in frustration and played back the images of the crime scene on his wristwatch. Keep looking, Zaydna. That canister is bound to give us the answers that we are looking for. But why would Naruto go after Red Hood, and how did he know that he would be there today? Naruto, what aren't you telling me? She thought, but she froze as she realized that she had mumbled those exact same words aloud and it didn't go unheard by Batman. She ended the spell as Bruce clenched his fists and walked up to her with a menacing glare. Zaydna, who is this Naruto and why should he tell you anything? Wait, Bruce paused as he swiftly rushed to the guest room, much to Zaydna's horror as she tried to stop him, but it was too late as Batman rattled the locked door. He slipped a pin out of his utility belt and began to pick the lock as Zaydna began sweating profusely as the thought about the dire consequences if he found out that she had been sheltering a killer, so she did the only thing possible. Igagabino Jeb, she whispered as she waved her hand into a full circle around Naruto's room just before Bruce opened the door. Bruce turned the room upside down before picking up a few old shirts worn by the mercenary. Zaydna, this Naruto is your new roommate, isn't he? You lied to me just now when I asked you whether you knew anything regarding the attack. You are housing a possible criminal and you think that that isn't against the law? What were you thinking? He growled as Zaydna grit her teeth and snorted. Look, Bruce, you have no proof that he was responsible for what happened today, and you think that I would have known that my new roommate destroyed buildings and chases crime lords during his spare time? Give me a break, she laughed mockingly as Batman just shook his head and continued rifling through his room. Where is Naruto? Why isn't he back here? He asked dangerously as Zaydna just shrugged and waved her hand dismissively at him. Who knows? He disappeared this morning and hasn't called since. Why don't you start looking for him now instead of interrogating a fellow crime fighter who doesn't know much about him? She challenged him. Zaydna, I need you to tell me everything you know about him, because if you don't, more lives will be at stake if this unknown vigilante is allowed to roam the streets freely, and that is not going to happen under my watch, he said as Zaydna grew purple in the face and shifted uneasily. Is playing house with him more important than our job? Since when did you allow your personal life to dictate your work life? The Zaydna that I knew 10 years ago would have never turned her back on justice, he said darkly as Zaydna shook her head and moved to slap her face, but he quickly caught her hand. Bruce, I am not playing house with him, and how dare you act as if I have abandoned the superhero life? It was an honest mistake, and I don't think that you have any right to be lecturing me on personal life when you haven't even made a serious move on Red Hood, she yelled as his eyes grew wide in shock at her uncanny outburst. The mention of Jason seemed to imbue with him a sense of regret as he dropped her hand and proceeded to give her an ominous look. You don't know anything about what happened between Jason and I, so I think that you should watch what you're saying, Zaydna, he growled in a low voice as she took a step back, fearing that she may have crossed the line. Bruce, I didn't mean it that way, she replied, but Batman just turned away and walked to the window. I did make a move on Red Hood once during an encounter with the Joker, but he escaped before I managed to capture him. It's not that I don't want to throw the shackles at him, but after that, what's going to happen to him? He would probably be locked up in Arkham Asylum for the rest of his days unless he is on parole. As much as he is a criminal and a menace to the city, he was still my partner and I don't want to make the same mistake twice, Bruce muttered as a look of remorse replaced his steely gaze, which did not go unnoticed by her. Zaydna, I need to know what Naruto has done with Jason because I don't want him killed. Jason might have even killed your roommate if he wasn't careful, so please Zaydna. I need to know how he looks like and his whereabouts because Jaeon is away on a mission and you're the only one besides Cersei who has the power to track him down through psychometry. The magician was torn between Bruce's request and her promise to Naruto, and either option will result in the possibility of losing a friend or an ally. She was a superhero and nothing mattered most than protecting the lives of the innocent and fighting villains, but she couldn't just lead Naruto to a slaughterhouse. Not after he rescued her from those ninjas. Zatanna, I need your cooperation. We don't have much time because who knows what might have happened during this period. Bruce raised his voice, which was laced with impatience and frustration. She took a deep breath and sighed. Naruto's at the Starling condominium at the north end of Gotham. You should be able to get there in 20 minutes if the traffic is minimal, she quietly replied as Bruce gave a silent nod and walked towards the window. Bruce. Don't hurt him or lock him up in that madhouse. He is still a friend of mine and is yet to be proven guilty, she told him defiantly as Batman merely ignored her request and disappeared into the night. Zatanna felt terrible for betraying Naruto's trust, but her duty as a superhero came first, and if Naruto was responsible for the recent attacks and arsons, he would have to be contained immediately for the safety of the citizens of Gotham. She closed her eyes and tried not to scream in frustration, but managed to calm herself down and headed towards her closet. Bruce already knows that I would be following him, she said dryly as she took out her superhero costume from the closet. Back in Cheshire's apartment. Jason couldn't sleep just yet because he had just received a text message from one of his men stating that the other smaller crime syndicates under his reign were revolting and turning against him. Since the news about Red Hood's disappearance spread like wildfire, various rumors had started to be thrown around the neighborhood. He was assumed to be either captured or dead, with the latter being everyone's preferred choice. With this hasty conclusion, the other crime lords under his protection and reign decided to throw caution to the wind and break free of his grasp. Jason's men did not know what hit them as they were swiftly massacred by the onslaught of gangsters and mobsters. He had already lost control of several key ports which were for the cargo ships, and it seemed that his disappearance had caused a mad scramble for his old title, which was the biggest crime lord in Gotham. Jason grit his teeth in frustration as he knew that his men would be overwhelmed by the onslaught, but he was in no state to get down there and sort things out. What the fuck is going on here, he murmured to himself as he switched off his mobile phone and placed it on the table. Batman hopped from rooftop to rooftop in pursuit of the blonde mercenary and his old partner, but he was stopped in his tracks as he witnessed a civil war between Jason's men and other rival gangs. Normally, Batman would have left it to the Gotham Police Department since he was in a hurry, but the emergence of Bane plowing through Red Hood's men caught his attention and he swooped towards the hulking figure. You've been running around like a group of headless chickens since Red Hood went missing. However, I'm under strict orders to wipe out every last man working for him, growled Bane as he killed another of Jason's men by breaking his neck. Orders? From who? The boss would never leave us without further notice, and you bastards shouldn't get too cocky because once he comes back and finds out what you have done, he is going to chop you to pieces and feed you to the sharks. Another henchman grinned as the masked villain merely bashed his skull open with a punch to the forehead. These puny weaklings aren't even worth the money that he paid me, Bane laughed to the men on his side. Maybe I can ask him to lower your reward once you've told me his name. A dangerous voice echoed through the streets as the masked villain just smirked and cracked his knuckles. Batman, you're too late because all of Red Hood's men here are dead. Suddenly, a batarang whizzed through the air and perforated the wall behind them. The batarang beeped before detonating, sending most of the men sprawling, but had little effect on Bane. Stay out of this, Batman, this has nothing to do with you. As much as I would love to break your puny spine again, my boss would get really upset if I wasted any more time here, Bane grunted, but the Dark Knight merely narrowed his eyes and hurled himself towards Bane. Bane swung a large arm towards him, but Bruce went under his arm and landed a hard kick to his jaw which sent the murderer staggering. All right, Bane, I want answers. Who put you up to this and why were you killing Red Hood's men? Red Hood's been gone for a while now, but that doesn't mean that he is dead, Bruce said calmly as he squared up to Bane, who merely smirked. I would never tell you, Batman. So you can just go to hell, he roared as he threw multiple punches at Bruce, who dodged them but was unable to dodge Bane's kick, which sent him crashing into the wall. Bane charged like a bull towards the groggy vigilante, who rolled out of the way before throwing a few smoke bombs in his direction. Bane coughed and tried to clear the smoke which was hampering his vision, but Bruce pounced on his back and surprised him with a headlock and chokehold. Bane growled and tried to grab the Dark Knight's arms, but Bruce quickly hopped off his back after placing a shock pad on the tube connected to the back of his mask. Bane quickly picked up the dumpster and hurled it towards the caped Crusader, who rolled to the side and sent Bane staggering with a kick to the gut. As Batman tried to knock him out with another kick, Bane caught his leg in midair and flung him against the wall. Bruce slumped to the ground after the force of the impact took its toll on his vision and stability. Batman, as much as I would love to continue toying around with you, but my boss is expecting me elsewhere and I would just hate to disappoint him, Bane grinned as he lifted an ice cream truck with ease and dangled it precariously over Bruce's slumped form. Well then, I think that you should call him to tell him that you will be late. Bruce replied dryly as he pressed a button on his batsuit which activated the shock pad behind Bane's neck and sending thousands of volts of electricity through his venom flow system, severing the connection and halting the supply of venom to his body. Bane dropped the truck as the feeling of pain slowly segued into one of ecstasy as the electricity coursed through his body, slowly numbing his nervous system and making him feel lightheaded. Bane swayed slightly before falling to the ground unconscious with a heavy thud. Bruce slowly picked himself up and started to search through Bane's pockets to find any sort of communication device. He finally fished out an old-looking mobile phone. Bruce scrolled through the messages, which were nothing more than instructions or a few code names strung together as a sentence. However, the last message, which had been sent about an hour ago, was plain, clear and simple. Report to the West Gotham cargo port once you've taken care of Team Alpha at the east side. Do not be late. Bruce narrowed his eyes and realized that the sender's number was private, but that did not deter him as he proceeded to contact Alfred. Master Bruce, I'll assume that you're not coming home for supper. Alfred asked Bruce, who just sighed. I'm sorry, but I'll have to take a rain check on that supper, Alfred. Anyway, Alfred, I ran into Bane taking out some of Jason's henchmen just now and I managed to obtain his mobile phone after subduing him. He's probably taking orders from someone else because whoever it is, it seems that he doesn't want us to find him. Oh my, Master Jason will be very upset to hear about that, but I thought that he had disappeared after that arson incident. Alfred replied. I was on my way to interrogate Zayden's new roommate and hopefully find Jason's whereabouts, but I guess that it would have to wait for now. Right now, we have bigger problems to worry about. I'm going to send you the GPS coordinates of Bane's phone and I need someone to bypass the firewall guarding his documents and contact numbers. Someone as in me, Master Bruce. Alfred chuckled as Bruce couldn't help but give a small smile. Yes, Alfred. Tell me when you find something because I'm heading to West Gotham to find some more answers, Bruce continued before ending the call. He tied Bane up with some loose cables before speeding off to West Gotham in the Batmobile. Jason was about to doze off to sleep when he heard some loud rapping on Cheshire's front door. He quietly picked up a kitchen knife and crept to the door, placing his back against the door and tightening his grip on the knife. What do you want? We don't want any visitors. Jason hissed through the door, but the rapping persisted and he began to feel annoyed. I'm here to see Naruto Uzumaki. Please open the door, you asshole, came an angry reply as Jason still refused to let her inside the apartment. I'm sorry, but I think that you've got the wrong apartment. There is nobody by the name of Naruto staying here, Jason lied as Zayden's vein in her forehead began to throb as she prepared to blast the door open. Jason, I didn't expect you to be still up at this hour. It's 2 in the morning and what the hell do you think you're doing with that kitchen knife? Naruto raised an eyebrow as he leaned against the doorframe of his bedroom. There is an intruder outside the front door trying to break in by claiming that she was looking for you. I was just going to dispose of her quickly until you woke up, Jason retorted as Naruto looked pleasantly surprised and pushed the crime lord aside. Don't you fucking push me around like I'm some lackey. We've got an alliance, you got it. Jason growled, but Naruto just shot him a lazy look. That's no way to talk to your team leader, Red Hood. Don't push your luck or you'll be swimming with the sharks very soon. Naruto slowly opened the door and he was stunned as he found Zayden looking worried outside the apartment. Zayden? But how? Zayden just gave him a weary look and followed him inside. She sent a death glare towards Jason, who just ignored her and went back to the kitchen to put back the knife. Zayden, You shouldn't even be here, and why did you track me down? Naruto groaned as he pulled her into a hug as she just buried her face into his neck. Naruto, Batman knows that you're here and he's on his way now to interrogate you, but more importantly, she paused as she slapped the blonde mercenary's face so hard that the sound echoed through the living room. How could you lie to me about everything and make friends with a bunch of low-life criminals? She raged as Cheshire merely whistled in amusement and sauntered over to Jason, who was enjoying the sight of his team leader being scolded. Zatanna, it's a very long story, but I should have told you from the start that the reason why I wanted to follow you back to Gotham was to form a team strong enough to exact my revenge on Sasuke. I would have wanted another member, but it looks as if I've overstayed my welcome, he said slowly, but Zatanna took him by the scruff of his shirt and glared at him. I wouldn't have been so kind to offer you a trip back to Gotham if I had known that you were recruiting Red Hood and Cheshire to carry out your dark schemes. You do realize that Batman will skin me alive if he found out that I was the cause of this whole fiasco by brining you back to Gotham. I can't let you take back these two back to your world, and more accurately, I am not sending them along with you back to Konoha, she growled as she finally released her grip on his shirt. You're all going back to prison once I'm sending Naruto back to his world. Even if I don't, I can communicate Batman or request the League for backup, and I don't think that you would want Superman and the rest of us chasing after you, right? Zatanna threatened as Jade merely scoffed at her threats. Don't underestimate me, you little tramp. You'll be dead before you even reach for your mobile phone, Jade smirked as Zatanna took up a fighting stance. Enough. The both of you. Jade, shut the fuck up and don't you dare harm a single hair on her. Zatanna, I really need your help one more time. If you don't help me out here, all those years training and all this time spent here would be in vain. I have no right to ask of you this, but as a friend, will you help me one more time? If you do, I promise that I'll disappear from your life after that, Naruto explained as the enchantress just shook her head. You know I can't do that, Naruto. I'm a superhero, and if I did help a bunch of criminals, it goes against everything I stand for, and I'll probably be stripped of my league and superhero status. I'm sorry, but I can't fulfill your request, she replied strongly as Naruto nodded solemnly before heaving a sigh. Zatanna, I understand, but do you know any other sorceress? Naruto shot her a knowing look as Zatanna's eyes grew wide. I know another powerful sorceress who goes by the name of Circe, though. She likes to hang out at the Gotham Jazz Club down the road. Why? She looked quizzically at him, but he just smiled at her. Nothing much. I just wanted to know who else could pull an ostrich out of their hat, or in my case, a mercenary, he chuckled before whispering thank you into Zatanna's ear. Zatanna merely bit her lip as Naruto kissed her cheek, much to his other two teammates' chagrin. Great, our leader is smitten with a member of the Justice League. Hoop-dee-doo. I guess that he won't be the one dumping her anytime soon, Jason laughed dryly as Jade just chuckled in agreement. Either that or Naruto is playing on the poor girl's feelings, she chimed in. Zatanna, I think that I left my equipment and costume in your apartment. Mind transporting it over here? He laughed, but Zatanna just looked sheepishly at him and told him about how she transported it to another dimension just when Bruce was about to check Naruto's room. Naruto's face fell as he had to come to grips that everything he owned as Deathstroke was gone, and he didn't even have his costume. This is really bad. That bulletproof costume was difficult to make, and my arsenal of weapons were some of Slade's best. How am I supposed to do anything now if I can't even face my enemies without them knowing my secret identity? He groaned. Naruto, I'm sorry, but it was the only way. It doesn't matter anyway because Bruce is hell-bent on finding and interrogating you for a confession. The problem is exacerbated because you just had to kidnap Red Hood and hide him here, Zatanna said. Naruto frowned in annoyance as he rubbed his temple with his fingers. He didn't know how long it would take to make another costume and restock his weapons. His team couldn't move forward if their leader was handicapped. I'll deal with Batman if I have to, but for now, I have other things to worry about, he continued grimly as he turned to his other two teammates. Naruto, Slade, and I did business just before he got sent to your world, and I don't think that he managed to test any of his new purchases, but from what I heard, he was going through a major overhaul in preparation of executing his plan to eliminate the Bat. Jason said as Naruto perked up immediately and threw him a hopeful glance. What's your point, Mr. Hood? You don't know where his base of operations were, and I'm pretty sure that it's well hidden to avoid annoying visitors such as yourself, Jade smirked as Jason growled in response. Jade, save that kind of talk for later. Jason, if what you have said is true, then I'm guessing that I can restock and hopefully get a spare costume from his place. Could you lead us there? Naruto asked him as Jason just flashed him a smirk. All my weapons are designed in such a way that they give off higher energy level readings compared to other firearms so that I can locate my stolen cargo easily, since I have competitors who have the gall to sabotage my shipment at ports and factories. However, since you destroyed my energy reading tablet during our last encounter, we have to go all the way back to my office in East End if you want to locate Slade's place. I don't have a choice, so we'll head there now to avoid the crowd during the day and before Batman shows up at our doorstep. So everyone, get prepared and let's head out, Naruto said as he proceeded to walk to his room to get his belongings. Wait. Naruto, what's going to happen after you've located Slade's base? Are you just going to wage an all-out attack on Gotham? Please tell me, because I've been worried sick about you, because you're my responsibility and you owe me for fucking lying to me all this while. Zatanna raged again as she grabbed the blonde's hand before he could set foot into his room. I'll leave Gotham for a while to achieve my mission, and I'll return with Cheshire and Jason once it's over. Then, I'll be out of your life for good and you'll never have to worry about me causing you any more trouble. I give you my word, Zatanna, Naruto whispered to her, but she just gripped the back of his shirt and pulled him closer to her. How exactly are you going to return with those two criminals? You need a sorceress to open an interdimensional portal back to Gotham. That's why I need to ask a favor of you for one last time. Before you refuse, think about it. You get to apprehend the both of them at once and save Batman a lot of trouble and sleepless nights. You might even rise up the ranks in the Justice League for bringing in two of the most notorious assassins, Naruto continued, but Zatanna merely pushed him away and glared at him. You really have a way of words, Naruto. Fine. I will help you, but not because you asked me to, but because those criminals belong behind bars in Gotham Prison and not gallivanting with some second-rate mercenary, she huffed as Naruto's face fell slightly with her tactless comments. Zatanna, I'm really sorry, but she just put up a hand to stop him and just shook her head. Whatever the reason is, I'm sure that it is as grand as your plot. Naruto, you and I might not be seeing each other for a very long time after tonight, and I think that I'm about to lose a good friend, she said sadly as Naruto just walked up to her and stroked her cheek with the back of his hand. Just a good friend. I think that I'm going to lose something more important than that, he chuckled as he turned back and went inside his room while Zatanna just looked thoughtfully at him. Something more important? No. He's just screwing around with me again. In any case, I'll have to pretend that he wasn't at home when I visited Cheshire's apartment in case Bruce decides to ask me, she thought to herself as she left the apartment. Is everyone ready? If you are, then let's head on out, Naruto called out to his teammates who were already waiting for him at the front door. What took you so long, Captain? Making out with your girlfriend? Jade grinned as Naruto just pushed past her and walked ahead towards Cheshire's car. I hope your driving isn't as bad as your sense of humor, Cheshire, Naruto replied dryly as he hopped into the front passenger seat of the car while Jason sat at the back. The moon under siege by stars seemed to lighten the night, bringing forth stars that shone and hung in the blackness. The never-ending blackness consumed everything, except the stars which stood out like pebbles in front of a storm. Ever enduring, these shone with the night cowered in an inky black sky. The car ride was filled with silence as Jason was already half asleep while Naruto felt his eyes getting heavier with each passing second. Naruto, you shouldn't be dating a superhero if you're working with us, because it's likely that her teammates will find out and they could play on your emotions to lure you into their trap, Jade said quietly, breaking the silence which hung in the air. I'm not dating her and there is nothing going on between us. She is just a good friend of mine who happened to save me, Naruto mumbled as Jade still looked unconvinced. What's with all that heavy flirting and the sneaky smooches behind our backs? Don't try to bullshit your way out of this one, because I can clearly see that both of you are smitten with each other. Yuck, no offense, but she dresses like a whore and you can do so much better than her, Jade said offhandedly. Every word stung, only fueling the fire that burned inside of me. Every violated phrase was like gasoline to it. My fists began to clench and my jaw rooted. Jade, take that last sentence back or else I'm going to throw you out of this car and onto the highway where a trailer can just flatten you, Naruto growled in a low and threatening voice, laced with danger, venom, and contempt. Jade was stunned at the reaction she got from her captain because she had never seen him get so angry before. The look that he was giving her was even enough to make her quake in her boots, and mind you that she wasn't easily frightened. Zaydena means a lot to me and she is a great woman. If you dare insult or pull a stunt like that again, I will cut your tongue out. Do I make myself clear, Jaden when? Naruto growled once more as Jade felt her skin crawl in fear. Of course, Naruto. I apologize for being so insensitive, Jade grumbled as the air was filled with newfound tension between the two assassins. The tension in the air was palpable and even Jason knew that something happened while he was asleep, but he just decided to let Naruto sort it out. We're finally here, guys. Jason, could you lead me to your office? Jade asked the crime lord, who nodded and began directing her through the streets. The Black Jaguar finally came to a juddering halt outside a dilapidated building which oversaw the Gotham River. I'll rush in and grab the tracking sensor while you guys wait in the car and look out for hostiles. This place is infested with thugs, Jason said as he climbed out of the car and ran into his office. Naruto still refused to talk to Jade as he was still angry about her comments regarding Zaydena. Jade on the other hand was feeling slightly guilty because she had been on the receiving end of more scathing remarks and verbal insults. She killed anyone who mouthed off against her, but this was different. She considered Naruto a friend of some sorts and she didn't like making her friends upset. Naruto, don't take my comments about Zaydena too seriously because that's how I address most female superheroes who don't wear long and baggy capes. Even though I don't like her, but I'm sure that she has something special for you to have fallen for her, Jade sighed as Naruto gave a small smile, even though this was about as close to an apology he was going to get from Cheshire. Apology accepted, Jade, and you're right, she has something about her that I love. Naruto shrugged, but his face soon began to grow red as a tomato once he realized his Freudian slip. Did you just say love? The great Deathstroke the Terminator is in love with the innocent showgirl. Wait till the press hear about this, Jade grinned as Naruto quickly folded his arms and averted his sheepish gaze away from her smirking visage. I'm back with the sensor and I've managed to locate Slade's base based on the energy levels that I'm picking up, Jason said as he climbed back into the car. Wait, I'm sure that there are many areas in the city which house your weapons, so how do you know that it's Slade's? Jade challenged him as Jason looked aggravated at her. Slade was the only one who purchased a large quantity of volatile promethium, the more dangerous and hazardous variation of promethium. The energy readings for volatile promethium is usually one of the highest, and so far, there is only one area which shows up with positive results, Jason explained while pointing to the giant red and yellow circle. Where is this area? Naruto asked him. It's an abandoned military school in West Gotham. No surprise there, seeing how Slade was an avid fan of the military, Jason said as Jade began to start the engine again. I hope that this is the last stop because I'm feeling rather sleepy, the blonde mercenary said as he stifled a yawn. Before he knew it, he fell asleep once Cheshire entered the highway. Naruto, wake the hell up. We have already reached the school, Jason hissed in disgust as he jabbed a finger in his side, which jolted the young man from his sleep. Jason, you asshole. Couldn't you have woken me up in a better way? Naruto glared as he rubbed his eyes and made his way out of the car. The night sky stood an inky canopy of darkness freckled only by the fewest of stars, where just hours ago it had been a blue summer's day. The occasional hoot of a hidden owl was the only sound to permeate the silence until a chorus of slapping footsteps and crunching gravel echoed angrily into the emptiness of the night. As voices quickly followed, the owl omitted a screech of protest and took flight. Jason led the two mercenaries towards the weapon storage room, where he blasted the lock open with his pistol and flung the door wide open. All three of their jaws dropped in amazement as the room revealed to be a big research lab filled with lots of weapons, spare parts, blueprints, and folders chock full of documents. A mug full of stale coffee and a plate of moldy bread lay untouched on the working table, while empty magazines and bullet shells were scattered across the marble floor. Slade must have been really busy before this. Look at all the stuff he collected, Jade whistled as she picked up an AK-47 and inspected its barrel. Naruto, get your ass over here. I found something that you might like, Jason said as Naruto rushed to the red-masked man who was standing in front of Slade's latest costume. Jason, this suit looks amazing. This suit is layered with more promethium than my last one, plus it's surprisingly light for supposedly bulky body armor. Naruto said as he ran his fingers from the half-black half-orange mask down to the breastplate of the black body armor. He proceeded to pick up Slade's old promethium sword, dual pistols, and ballistic staff while delving into his collection of explosives. I guess I should suit up since I'm the only one who isn't in costume, Naruto said as he proceeded to wear the body armor and signature mask. He placed his sword on his back, slung his staff across his chest and attached his dual pistols to the side of his suit. Last but not least, he armed himself with an array of grenades and explosives. Someone is looking rather dashing again, Jade purred from the back as she sauntered towards the two men. Jason suddenly pulled out his Desert Eagle .50 AE and unloaded his entire magazine on Naruto, much to Jade's shock, but Naruto looked pleasantly surprised as the bullets ricocheted off his armor without a single perforation. Just as I thought, the whole armor is reinforced with a high proportion of Kevlar and mesh to withstand ballistics fired with a high velocity and greater force. No wonder my Desert Eagle couldn't even make a dent on it. Slade must have spent ages working on it, Jason said, looking impressed. I'd expect nothing less from the original Deathstroke. He was a brilliant mercenary and weapons expert, and I'm going to honor him by using this suit to its full potential, Naruto declared. So now that we've got what we came here for, where do we head now? Cheshire asked Naruto, who reloaded his pistols and dropped the empty magazines. If you're hoping for an answer that has the word sleep in it, you're sorely mistaken, because he's got something planned, Red Hood snorted. Forget about sleep for tonight, because I think that it's time we paid a visit to the Gotham Jazz Club to meet a certain someone who could help us get back to my world, Deathstroke chuckled as Jason and Jade exchanged glances with each other. Is it Zatanna? It better not be. Naruto just put up his gloved hand to silence the both of them before breaking into a devilish smirk. Cheshire, mind taking us back to North Gotham? We're looking for a woman that goes by the name of Circe. The Gotham Jazz Club, eh? Looks like a place that the Penguin would approve of, with the big illuminated sign and the sleazy-looking bouncers. Just who are we looking for again? Jason grumbled. A woman that goes by the name of Circe. She is a lounge singer in this club on weekends, but make no mistake about her. She has a reputation of turning people into animals just for the thrill of it, and she is as cunning as they get, so try not to listen to her too much, Naruto told them as they strolled towards the entrance of the club. If what you're saying is true, then how the hell are we going to persuade her to aid us in our little quest for redemption? Jade chuckled as she sauntered in between the two men, linking each arm with theirs. Get your hands off me, you little tramp, or I will personally get them off myself, Jason growled as Naruto shot him another angry look. Jason, for fuck's sakes, we are trying to be incognito tonight. The plan is to masquerade as Jade's escorts so that we would be able to enter the club without causing a scene. We don't want either Batman or the entire Gotham PD to come barreling in before we even complete our mission. So act as if you're her date for the evening. Is that so difficult? Naruto hissed in irritation, much to the raven-haired beauty's amusement and the former Robin's chagrin. That's right, Jason. You should be thankful that I'm making your job so much easier than it could have been. You could have been forced to play Mr. and Mrs. Smith with some ugly whore who won't give you time of the day and probably would lower your self-esteem, she purred. Good thing that there was a tuxedo rental agency near the military school, or else we wouldn't have been able to enter tonight, Naruto nodded as he adjusted his navy blue tie and flashed the bouncer his fake ID. The room was dimly lit by a few spotlights which were clustered right above the center of the stage. As expected, it was filled with mostly elderly men dressed in their evening regalia while discussing about the best brand of cigars or how they failed to profit from the purchase of real estate. Most of the men were staring at Jade and whispering among themselves as we walked past them en route to our table. Excuse me, madam, would you care to join my colleagues and I for a drink by the bar? Your choice of drink will be on me, a man in his late 40s grinned at the dark-haired assassin who smirked at Naruto before declining the offer. I'm sorry, but my boss doesn't allow me to have a drink with any other man. It's just his possessive side coming out to play tonight, Jade said innocently as Naruto sighed and waved the man away. Go back to your table and don't disturb us again if you know what's good for you, and believe me, whatever threats you hurl at me won't scare me on bit." The blonde mercenary sent a warning glance at the helpless suitor, who started sweating and quickly rejoined his group of friends. "That old geezer needed to be shot down. He actually has the gall to stroll up to us and hit on our slutty-looking teammate." "Not that I'm worried about you, Jade, but rather his state of mind," Jason said dryly and took a sip of his gin. "And here I was going to compliment you on how presentable you look tonight. You're a failure when it comes to talking to women," Jade sniffed contemptuously before taking a sip of her dry rice wine. "Ladies and gentlemen, back by popular demand and on weekends, we would like to present to you the sexy siren of the Gotham Jazz Club, the one and only, Circe." The PA system boomed as a cacophonous mixture of claps, whistles and cheers gave Jason a headache. "Naruto, do we confront her now?" Jade asked the blonde, who shook his head and stole a glance from his watch. "Not yet. We don't want to attract any attention, so we will wait until she takes her first break. Jason, in case of trouble, I want you to secure the lounge and make sure it's in lockdown. Not a single person is to leave and call for help. Confiscate their mobile phones if you have to," Naruto said quietly. "Jade, you and I will be dealing with Circe. The most important thing to remember is to never get caught in one of her spells. According to Zatanna, the effects may be non-reversible, so try not to get turned into an animal," he continued, and patiently waited for the curtains on stage to be drawn. "That is one sexy-looking sorceress," Jason whistled as Naruto looked up from his drink. His eyes widened at the sight that awaited him. Her curvaceous figure sat well on her wafer-thin body. She had a decanter-shaped waist and her complexion had an impeccable, ochreous hue. Her pencil-thin eyebrows eased down gently to her black, beetle's leg eyelashes. Filed to perfection, her Venus-red fingernails ran through her nougat-brown hair. Eden green eyes, which were a sparkle with the joie de vivre, met Naruto's azure orbs. She greeted the crowd in a dulcet voice as sweet as any songbird. "She must be the author of the book 101 Ways to be a Skank," Jade grinned at Naruto, who snapped out of his trance and cleared his throat. "Skank or not, we still need her help, and I just hope she doesn't do the whole an eye for an eye routine. Women like her probably want to get laid in exchange, based on my previous espionage missions. And if that happens, Jason is going to be the lucky guy because I have hygiene issues," Naruto lied as Jade just flicked a peanut at his face and laughed. Circe had almost every man eating out of her palm as she sauntered off the stage and approached all the tables in front of the stage while delivering her hauntingly beautiful ballad. Men were clamoring to touch her, but she merely gave them a small wink before moving to the next eager table. This continued for about a half hour before she announced that she would be taking a half-hour-long intermission. Jason loaded his pistol and slipped it in his blazer before heading to the main control room. Naruto signaled to Jade and the both of them slipped off to the backstage while eluding security personnel. They saw Circe reapplying her lip gloss while humming another one of her performed songs. "Circe, we enjoyed your performance so far, so we decided to come and let you know good you were," Naruto said casually and walked up to her alongside Jade. Circe couldn't help but feel proud, but that feeling soon turned into suspicion as she dropped her lip gloss and placed her hands on her hips. "As much as I appreciate that, how on earth did you get past security? No one is allowed backstage unless it's me or the technicians." Jade just shrugged and eyed her carefully. "They were busy having their dinner, so we took the opportunity to come and see you." Circe shook her head and went to call the security guards. "Those useless idiots. Having their dinner when they are paid to make sure that none of these perverts manage to get their filthy hands on me," she grumbled and stomped to the exit. "But I'm sure that you can just send them away or perhaps turn them into harmless mice, am I right?" Naruto stepped forward and smirked as the brunette sorceress froze in her tracks and suddenly sent a blast of energy hurtling towards the duo. "Justice League!" Circe hissed in disgust and sent a few crates crashing into them. "Circe! We are not with the Justice League. We are Zatanna's friends." Naruto growled and dodged another incoming crate. Circe ceased her attacks and narrowed her eyes. "That joke of a sorceress? Okay then. State your purpose, and if I like your answer, I might just let you escape with half a human body. Does she need a favor from me?" Circe glared at Naruto, who shook his head. "No, I want a favor from you because Zatanna isn't capable of carrying out sorcery as impeccable as you can. That being said, I would like to make a proposition for you. Your girlfriend is going to be so pissed when she finds out you publicly admitted that she is a second-rate sorceress. Jade chuckled as Circe's stunned face told it all. Hold on, you and that witch dating? Tell me, lover boy, did she cast a spell on you? Circe looked sympathetically at Naruto, who gave Jade an irritated look before clenching his fists. Enough of this dawdling. Look, I need you to open up an interdimensional portal for us to return to my world tonight, and in exchange I'll give you anything you want within boundaries. So name your price. Naruto said boldly as Circe looked amused at the mercenary before running a ruby-red fingernail down the stripes of his crisp Oxford shirt. Naruto didn't say anything and maintained a hardened look at Circe before she sniffed and tossed her hair. Who are you anyway? I haven't seen your face around Gotham, and I'm assuming that you're a superhero anyway. The cute ones are always on the side of the law, she sighed dramatically. I'm a mercenary, and that's all you need to know. You will ask no further questions regarding my mission and just keep your end of the bargain, sorceress. I came here because I was hoping I could strike a deal with you. Fine, at least you're smart enough to know that nothing comes for free. Since this is a big request, you'll have to sacrifice something big for me too, she purred, earning a snort from Jade. Naruto shrugged and folded his arms. I don't really mind, so just hurry up and spit it out. I'm wasting precious time playing your little games. Circe just clicked her tongue and sat down on her chair. Well, handsome, I want something from that means a lot to you, something that you have never given up or shown to any other mortal before. Something that makes you lose a part of yourself. You want his dignity, or do you prefer his deepest, darkest secrets? Naruto, this woman is going to double-cross you, Jade muttered to Naruto, who looked at the ground before stopping Jade. Be more specific please. If my teammate managed to scratch the surface of what you're hinting at, I'm fine with you taking those things away from me, because the only feelings I have now are regret and pent-up anger, he said seriously. Circe just draped herself over him and nipped his ear, sending shivers down his spine as Jade drew her dagger and pointed it at Circe. I want you to sing a duet with me. Circe beamed and smacked him lightly on the shoulder. Both Naruto and Jade were catatonically rooted to their respective spots, and at one point, the former ninja's jaw slowly sunk further down, leaving just enough space for the entrance of a fly. Wait, you're joking, right? You want Naruto to sing a duet with you? That hardly seems like anything valuable, Jade burst out laughing as Naruto turned purple and aimed his pistol at Circe. I'm getting tired of your games, Circe. Naruto growled as Circe started to feel agitated with his harsh tone of voice. I am telling the truth, you stick in the mud. There is nothing more satisfying than seeing a man sacrifice his pride and dignity in order to achieve a goal. Personally, I love hearing the sound of a man sing about the one he loves. The raw and soulful passion makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Do you know, I struck the same deal with Batman? I made him sing a blues song in exchange for turning his lover back into a human. Circe giggled mischievously, much to the surprise of Naruto. In that case, I'll sing a duet with you. But after that, you'll keep your end of the bargain or I will put a bullet through your chest, Naruto warned her as Circe just waved her hand dismissively at Jade. We need to prepare for our duet, so you can just buzz off back to the table, Circe sniffed and dragged Naruto away. Jade, call Jason and ask him to meet you back at our table. I guess we won't be needing him to be stationed in the control room, Naruto nodded as Jade took one last look at Circe before shrugging. You got it, boss. Just make sure that this old hag doesn't unbutton your slacks while rehearsing, she said acidly before disappearing back to the table. Naruto's eyes scanned through the lyrics of the song, which had rather sappy lyrics to say the least. The only time that he ever sings is in the shower, and he was pretty sure that he would be pelted with rotten fruits once he opened his mouth. No fucking way I have to record this and hopefully use this little bit of incriminating evidence to blackmail him whenever I need a favor from him, Jason laughed and prepared his mobile phone. Soon enough, the lilac curtains were raised and Circe emerged from the shadows with Naruto, who felt the embarrassment shake right down to his core. Buzzing and muttering could be heard among the patrons and the disharmony in the lounge was palpable. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, I'm going to be singing a duet with a friend of mine who promises to put on a performance for us. This goes out to all the couples in the building and to the single people who have trouble finding love, she winked before signaling to the band to start playing. Naruto felt the heat rise to his cheeks as his eyes swept across the room and found his two team members giving him the thumbs up. The once hostile crowd began to loosen up and enjoy themselves as the two of them delivered a soulful rendition of Try a Little Tenderness. Jason and Jade began laughing and joking about Naruto's singing as they held a toast and downed their respective drinks. Naruto isn't half bad on the microphone. I was expecting a deafening delivery a la Black Canary style, Jason chuckled. Looks like that bitch was right after all. Naruto seems to be pouring lots of emotion into his singing. I guess even the craziest people need an outlet to vent their frustrations even if it is in front of a group of rich and pretentious idiots, Jade replied. Jason nudged Jade and pointed to the manager of the club, whispering orders to the bouncers who stole a glance at Naruto before nodding and disappearing backstage. Jade, let's stick to the plan because I have a feeling that things are going to get a little bit dicey. Head backstage and take out those bouncers while I secure the control room. You heard Naruto, no one enters or leaves the building. Jade quickly disappeared backstage and silently subdued the guards with a few quick moves. Jason cautiously crept to the control room, but he felt the cold barrel of the pistol against the back of his head. He paused and remained silent. This place is off limits to non-club personnel. Explain why you're creeping around here like some kind of spy before I put a bullet in your head, the guard said gruffly as Jason calmly kicked the man's groin with the heel of his shoe, which earned him a loud groan. You son of a bitch, the guard grit his teeth in pain and struggled to pick up his pistol from the floor. Jason kicked the pistol away from the man and sent a barrage of punches to the man's midsection before knocking him out flat with an uppercut. The guard crumpled to the floor in a heap as Jason heard the sound of gunfire ring through the air. Jade, you little bitch. Jason sighed as he kicked open the door of the control room and drew his silver Glock. Hey, you're not allowed. Jason just shot the two guards point blank in the forehead before dumping their bodies to one side. He proceeded to overwrite the system's firewall and placed the Jazz Lounge under lockdown. Piercing shrieks and screams could be heard as the steel shutters rapidly descended from the four corners of the building, trapping the patrons in a metallic cube which was isolated from the watching eyes of the Gotham citizens. Jason quickly dashed back to the lounge where he witnessed Cheshire weaving in and out and slicing the armed guards into ribbons. It's about time you showed up, Red Hood. You missed Naruto's high note at the end, she laughed and slit another guard's throat. Jade. Jason. Get over here. Naruto yelled out to them and shot another guard dead with his pistol. He ushered them backstage and grabbed his belongings. All right, Cersei, I fulfilled my end of the bargain, so it's time you did the same. Cersei smiled at Naruto before uttering a chant of magic words and opening an interdimensional portal. You better make sure that this is Konoha, Naruto frowned as Cersei looked slighted at him. Oh, believe me, Blondie, I can transport you to any part of the world as long as you provide me with an item from the place, the brunette conjurer huffed. When you come back, feel free to join me for another duet if you feel like it. You know where to find me, she purred as Naruto turned red before jumping into the portal along with Jason and Jade. In the outskirts of Konoha. Fuck, my head hurts, Jason mumbled as he slowly opened his eyes and sat up. He looked at the lush greenery surrounding them and closed his eyes as the cool breeze kissed his cheeks. This reminds me of the forests in Vietnam. When I used to go jungle trekking, my sister and I would used to lie beneath the stars and just admire the constellations. Jade gave a small smile as Naruto stood up and gazed at the bright lights of Konoha below them. Yeah, I used to come here quite often with my old teacher, Jiraiya. This open field was the place where I used to spend countless of hours each day perfecting my signature move, the Raise Non. Naruto smiled as nostalgia began to take over his mind. Jade got up and offered him a bottle of juice. It's getting late, Captain. Why don't we call it a night and just spend the talking? Her voice trailed off as Jason raised an eyebrow at the olive-skinned mercenary. You're a very interesting man, Naruto. I would like to hear about your experience with this Jiraiya that you spoke of. And you, she pointed a finger to the crime lord. Sometimes a girl misses having these heart-to-heart conversations with her friends. It's nothing special, you know. Naruto just broke into a grateful smile and set down his bag of weapons before breaking out his sleeping bag. You're absolutely right. One of the things that I miss most about leaving my village is my friends whom I considered to be like family to me. The day that I ran away from my village was also the day I severed our once unbreakable bonds. I killed a dear friend of mine, massacred the village's Umbu soldiers, wounded my own sensei and disappointed my Hokage. You may not feel it, but there are times where I just want to burst out rattle on about absolute nonsense to you guys, but that's not the luxury of being a team leader. Right now, I'm just glad that we all can be civil to each other even though we might just be business associates. Naruto smiled at them as Jason couldn't help but crack the tiniest of smiles. I feel the same way about Dick Grayson, Barbara, and Tim. They will always be family to me even though they might hate me for trying to kill the big bat and returning to life as a criminal. Jason shrugged to Jade. You think that's bad? Try being forced to leave your husband and daughter when the world's deadliest archer wants your head on a silver platter. She snorted and took another sip of her juice. We have all had our fair shares of problems in the past, but from now on, we need to trust each other to ensure the success of our mission. We are dealing with deadly assassins with strange powers here, Naruto told them as the other two members just rolled their eyes in unison. Get some rest because tomorrow, we will be starting work at 0600 hours sharp. A minute later and you might find yourself with no breakfast, Naruto joked as he settled himself inside his own sleeping bag. Jason. Jade looked at the raven-haired vigilante who was half asleep. What the hell do you want? I'm trying to get some sleep here, a muffled voice was heard. Nothing, you prick. Just wanted to say that I'm glad to have you aboard on this team, she shrugged and turned over. Jason felt his mouth went dry and he was about to hurl another subtle jab, but he paused inside. Yeah, same here. Just don't try anything funny on me when I'm asleep or I'll kill you. Naruto watched his team drift off to sleep as he quietly got up and took another look at the village below him. Kakashi-sensei, Iruka-sensei, Tsunade, you hurt me so much and yet, I still see you as my family. Why did you send me away? He tried to hold back his tears as he clenched his fists and exhaled silently. Sasuke killed Sakura. He framed me and you didn't even bother to look into the matter. Kakashi-sensei, you were there and you lied to Tsunade. How could you? You were the one who asked me to wait because you didn't think Sasuke would really do it. And where were you, Hinata? For someone who claims to love me, you never even bothered to vouch for me with Niji. Sasuke, you bastard, what did you get out of killing my fiancé? Another one of your sick whims, I suppose, but no matter. I'm back here now and I'm not going to stop till I have your head, Naruto whispered quietly before walking a little further down to a nearby stream. This stream hasn't changed one bit, Naruto mused and took a drink out of it as he recalled his last visit 5 years ago. Flashback. Jiraiya filled up a water balloon from using the water from the stream and handed the small red sphere to Naruto, who looked at it in surprise. Pervy Sage, this is a water balloon. You said that you would teach me how to master the raise non. Naruto looked in dismay at the balloon, which jiggled and shook as he tossed it into the air. Naruto, this is the first step in learning this technique. I want you to concentrate all your chakra and focus it into spinning the water inside in multiple directions at once in order to break the balloon. The key to mastering this exercise is for you to know your chakra's natural rotation. Here, let me show you once. Jiraiya grinned at the whiskered shinobi and brought out another water balloon. The legendary Sunin quickly concentrated his chakra and diverted it into multiple directions from a single motion using his fingers, and in the blink of an eye, the water balloon burst quickly. Naruto's eyes widened and he grinned at his own water balloon. That doesn't look too hard. Don't worry, Pervy Sage, I'll ace this exercise in one go and we can hurry up and proceed to the next step, Naruto said excitedly, earning him an amused chuckle from Jiraiya. You sure about that, Naruto? I hope you can finish it before lunch because I'm starving, he declared and sat down in front of him. Just watch and you'll see, Naruto declared and began concentrating his chakra onto the balloon. An hour passed but his efforts were futile. The balloon remained in pristine condition and Jiraiya had already left to bring back lunch for him. Naruto flopped down to the ground, glared at the balloon. Why can't you just burst? I've been at this same stage for hours. Naruto wiped his sweat as Jiraiya made his way back to him with a cup ramen in his hand and a bottle of green tea in the other. He just set the food down for Naruto and smiled at him. Come on, Naruto, I know you can do it, so don't give up. Try using a little creativity and feeling. If you succeed by tomorrow, I'll treat you to ramen at Ichiraku's. Jiraiya chuckled, which caused Naruto to salivate and lose focus on his chakra spinning. with extra barbecued pork and eggs. Naruto looked hopefully at his teacher, who just sighed and nodded. You're going to eat me out of house and home if I wait for you to list out all of your extra toppings, he laughed heartily. Flashback end. Pervy Sage, if only you were still alive when that incident happened. You wouldn't have just let me leave like that. I should get some sleep, he yawned and prepared to head back to the campsite when he saw the gates of Konoha staring right in front of him. Naruto slowly walked up to the gates and ran his fingers over the insignia painted on the middle of the gates. It's been too long, Konoha. Yes, it has been too long, Naruto, or should I say, Deathstroke, came a quiet voice from behind him. Naruto froze and slowly spun around to see the lone figure of Sai. Sai, how have you been? And how did you know I was here? Naruto demanded as Sai calmly whipped out his brush and his scroll. I was on my way back from a mission in the Hidden Mist village when I decided to stop by the outskirts to catch my breath. You are under the arrest by the order of the Hokage, Sai said coldly and drew his kunai as Naruto cursed and drew his dagger in retaliation. Sparks flew as metal met steel head-on. Sai, you bastard, will you just stop and hear me out? I don't think that there is any need for such explanations, Sai replied and made a gash on Naruto's cheek. The blonde cursed and blocked another swing by Sai only to be met with a kick to the gut that sent him staggering back. Just like old times, huh? Naruto thought to himself. Sparring and beating each other up in front of Kaka-sensei and Sakura. The only difference is that Sai is fighting with more aggression. Sai sent a flurry of kicks before throwing a smoke bomb in Naruto's direction. Naruto coughed and tried to move out of the smoke cloud that engulfed him, but it was too late as two quick jabs to his jaw saw him stagger once more. Naruto wiped the trickle of blood that was flowing from the corner of his lip and shook his head. If you are not going to listen to me, I have no choice but to take you down, Sai. You are a fool to be blinded by the story that the Hokage has been spinning. She is a dirty liar. Naruto snarled and assumed his fighting stance. Show some respect to the Hokage, traitor, Sai replied coldly and charged towards Naruto, but the blonde mercenary was through playing games with his old friend. Naruto swiftly sidestepped Sai's incoming punch and sent a bone-cracking punch up his stomach, which elicited a gag from him and heavy panting. Sai tried to regain his composure again and aimed another kick to Naruto's head, but to no avail as the ex-shinobi caught his leg in midair and sent him smacking against the tree with another powerful punch to his face. Sai lay motionless on the ground for a few minutes as Naruto slowly walked towards him and kicked the motionless body in the side. You don't know who you're dealing with, Sai. You're pathetic and a waste of my time. You call yourself an umbu when all it takes is 2 punches from me to dissolve you to a quivering mess? Get up now, I have something to ask of you, Naruto said coldly and gave the body another light kick. Sai slowly opened his eyes and clutched his torso in pain, but instead of a Konoha medic, he was greeted with a murderous glare from Naruto. Your single punch had so much force in it, it was like getting punched from 3 people at one go. Looks like you have gotten stronger, Sai breathed heavily as Naruto helped him up to his feet and propped him against the tree. I want answers, Sai. Where is Sasuke? I know that he has moved back into the village and I know that he probably went on a mission, so start talking or I'll have to beat it out of you, he threatened calmly and folded his arms. Sai remained silent and just stared back defiantly at Naruto, who just sighed and sent him rolling to the floor again with a swift kick to the cheek. You will get nothing from me, Naruto. The whole village is aware of your heinous crimes and the Hokage deems you a perennial threat. Don't think that we have forgiven you for murdering Neji, Sai said weakly as Naruto just turned away. Shut up and just answer me. I didn't ask for your opinions or sympathy. I asked for Sasuke's whereabouts. He sighed and moved to grab Sai by the collar when the ink-based ninja summoned his energy and executed a substitution jutsu while reappearing behind Naruto. Ninja art, Super Beast Scroll. He proceeded to lay out a scroll on the ground and drew a group of tigers which leapt out of the paper and started racing towards Naruto, who loaded his Desert Eagle pistol and obliterated every single ink beast that was present. Sai was stunned as he did not know how Naruto could have destroyed them without moving from his spot. Naruto walked towards Sai with his pistol still in his hand and placed a bullet in his thigh when he tried to escape. A scream of pain was about to be released from his lips, but Naruto clamped his hand over his mouth and pressed the barrel of the pistol to the side of his head. I can't have you screaming and giving away our location to the others, so I'm giving you one last chance. Tell me everything you know about Sasuke before I blow your brains out, Naruto snarled as Sai started shaking with fear. Wood style, wooden dragon jutsu. Yamato prepared the hand signs and erected a gargantuan wooden dragon which knocked Naruto away from Sai and started winding itself around him, squeezing the oxygen out from his lungs and crushing his bones. I was looking for Sai because he never made it back to the village and it was easy to sense his chakra since he was just outside the village. Naruto, you're coming back with us to the village, Yamato said firmly and ordered the dragon to apply more pressure on Naruto's struggling body. Naruto felt his mind become fuzzy as the lack of oxygen coupled with the unrelenting pressure on his body was taking its toll on him. My healing factor doesn't take into account a lack of air, he thought and grunted as the dragon squeezed him again. Suddenly, the wooden dragon burst into wood shavings as he saw Yamato roll down the hill and lie motionless on the ground. Sai's eyes widened and he scrambled for his brush when the sound of steel perforating his skin rang through the air. Naruto stretched his back and squinted to see the crouching figure of Jason holding his sniper with the silencer attached to the muzzle. Headshot. The first target has been silenced permanently while target 2 has been subdued with a clean shot through the chest. The distance between the bullet and the heart is approximately 10 mm, Jason radioed Naruto who paid his respect to his fallen former vice-captain of Team 7 and turned back his attention to the barely conscious Sai. Sasuke is back here, croaked Sai as his breathing became more erratic and labored. Where? Who is he living with? His wife. Daughter. Don't kill them, Sai gripped onto Naruto who just pushed him aside and signaled to Jason for the final blow. His heightened hearing magnified the gentle whiz of the bullet which found its mark in the middle of Sai's forehead as the victim possessed a look of shock on his pale face just before his lifeless body hit the grassy surface with an audible thud. Good job with that sniper, Jason. I'll be heading to the village for a while to gather some more information on our target. I need you to dispose of the corpses before the ninja dogs track their scents. Immolate their bodies if you have to, but make sure to do it far away from the village, Naruto told Jason before changing into his Deathstroke attire. Jason grumbled and dragged the bodies back to the campsite where Jade was preparing a bonfire. One immolation coming right up, she nodded and tossed the bodies into the bonfire. The acrid smell of burning flesh wafted through the air, but Jade remained unperturbed as she started sharpening her daggers. Lucky for us that the wind is blowing south tonight while the village is located due north. This awful smell won't even make it past the gates if the strong winds keep this up, she assured Jason. Naruto crept through the alleys and stayed in the shadows as he was determined to squeeze some more information out of someone who was more inclined to oblige him. He scaled the roofs of many houses before doing a somersault and landing in the backyard of a familiar house. Deathstroke walked through the garden and checked the name on the mailbox. The Umino household? That name rings a faint bell, he thought to himself as he prepared to jump to the next house. Excuse me, but what are you doing in my house? Deathstroke turned around, drew his Berettas but paused when he saw the yawning figure of Irika by the door. One squeal from you and I will blow a hole through your skull. So I'm just going to leave in peace because I haven't been paid to kill you, Naruto said coldly and turned to leave once more, but Irika just gave a sad smile and scratched his head. Threatening your old academy teacher in his own garden? Naruto, has it really been just 5 years since we talked? It feels as if you've become a completely different individual since the last time we went out for lunch at Ichiraku's, he muttered as Naruto flinched and put back his Berettas in their holsters. Irika, don't bring up the past because that will get you nowhere. You disappointed me, sensei. You were like an older brother to me, but where were you when I was being persecuted by your boss? I would have minded if you at least talked to me and tried to help me, but I guess you're too much of a coward to say anything. Just like the rest of you scumbags. But, out of respect for our time in the academy, I would like to strike a deal with you. I'll pay you 10,000 yen for information regarding Sasuke's current status. Irika's mouth went dry and he hung his head. Naruto, why did you even come back? You know that if anyone finds out that you're here, every jonin and umbu will be falling on you from every direction. But Irika was cut off by a laugh from the masked mercenary. Have you learned nothing from our previous encounters? Send me battalion of your best warriors and I promise you that I will have their heads on a stick. So what is it going to be, Irika? 10,000 yen for information regarding Sasuke? That seems like daylight robbery to me. Iruka frowned and backed away from Naruto. I'm sorry, but if I did that, I would be endangering his family and I can't let you kill an innocent little girl, Iruka said solemnly and drew his kunai. Naruto calmly closed the gap between them until the sharpest tip of the kunai was touching the breastplate of his Kevlar armor. I have no business with his family. My only grudge is against Sasuke himself, so I give you my word that I will not harm a single hair on his wife or daughter, Naruto said earnestly and placed a hand on Iruka's shoulder. Iruka just looked skeptical at Naruto and he just closed his eyes and lowered his weapon. Sasuke resides in the house where the old Uchiha clan used to stay, but he rarely comes home from missions. Although, he has informed us that he will be back tomorrow to restock his supplies, Iruka said quietly and Naruto nodded. You don't need to pay me anything, Naruto. It's the least I can do to atone for my actions, he sighed. Well, at least you convinced me to spare your miserable life tonight, Deathstroke said dryly and sent Iruka reeling with a punch to the face. Iruka-sensei, a small girl yelped from the doorway as Deathstroke quickly looked up to find a small girl gripping her kunai with fear. Upon further examination, he saw that the girl had a fair complexion and straight shoulder-length onyx hairstyle. She also sported a pair of red-rimmed glasses which framed her onyx eyes while wearing a simple yellow nightgown. Sarada! I told you to stay inside. Iruka grimaced in pain as the young ninja ran to his aid and started nursing his bruised cheek. Is this your daughter, Iruka? I didn't know you were married, he mused, but Sarada merely glared spitefully at Deathstroke and clenched her fists. You heard Iruka-sensei. What did he ever do to you? She looked angry at the mercenary who towered over her and frowned. She looks really familiar. Those eyes and that hair color, could it be? No, I must be crazy because Sasuke's kids would probably look as deranged as their father, Naruto thought to himself. Choco is already fast asleep, but I sneaked out to look for you when I heard someone enter the garden, Sarada smiled at Iruka. Sarada, was it? You look very much like someone I know. Sarada stiffened and Iruka quickly executed some hand signs. Fire release, fireball jutsu. Sarada! Wake Choco up and alert the village. Iruka called out as Deathstroke found himself engulfed in flames, but his armor was fireproof. Little girl. Take one more step away from me and I will kill your friend, Deathstroke declared and held his Prometheum sword against Iruka's throat. Sarada froze in her tracks and began shaking with fear. Iruka-sensei, I can't. Just go, Sarada. I'll be fine. Get Choco and yourself to safety. Iruka cried out in desperation as Deathstroke challenged the little shinobi who was at a loss. Sarada stood her ground and shook her head. No. I won't run away. This is the assassin that everyone has been talking about for the past month. I can't let this man take another one of us. He has killed Uncle Neji and injured Kakashi-sensei. What do you want from us? She glared at Naruto, who released Iruka and placed a foot on his chest, pinning him down to the cobble path. Sarada, who are your parents? He asked calmly as Iruka looked pleadingly at the little girl who adjusted her glasses and glared defiantly at Naruto. Genma and Shizune. Iruka burst out in frustration. Please, Deathstroke, she has done nothing wrong, he pleaded as Naruto remained silent and knocked Iruka out cold with a kick to the face. Remember my warning, little girl. Walk away from me and I will slaughter your friend right before your very eyes, he said cruelly and walked towards Sarada, who inched closer to him before catching him by surprise with an explosive kunai to the face. As Naruto's mask exploded, Sarada took the opportunity to run back into the house, but a gloved hand already grabbed her arm and threw her across the lawn. You're a little feisty one, aren't you? Miniature explosives don't work on me, kiddo, because this armor is built for war, he chuckled as Sarada activated her Sharingan. He has no chakra to sense. Who is this man? She mentally cursed and dodged his attacks with ease. Deathstroke drew his sword and just tapped his foot. Looks like Iruka did lie to me after all, that piece of shit. You possess the Sharingan as well, so that must mean, your father is Sasuke Uchiha, am I right? This little turn of event just made my life much easier, he chuckled and decapitated the unconscious Iruka. Naruto made a grab for her, but she used the wall as leverage and sent the blonde mercenary reeling with a deft kick to his head. You killed Iruka-sensei, she cried out in frustration and anguish and sent him staggering with another kick to his head. Shan-Naro. Sarada yelled and threw another punch towards Naruto which caused him to lose his breath but nothing more. However, he was getting more and more intrigued by this little girl who had just uttered his deceased fiancé's famous verbal tick. He slowly stood up but was met with a wave of senbons embedding themselves in his mask before Sarada swept his legs beneath him, causing him to trip and fall. Those senbons is infused with poison, so good luck trying to fight while your nervous system slowly breaks down, she sniffed as she turned to walk away, but Naruto just pulled the senbons out one by one and laughed. You're pretty skilled at shurikenjutsu, Sarada. You have talent and potential to be a fearsome shinobi. Deathstroke praised her before dodging her punch and giving a punch to the gut which effectively ended her resistance. Sarada felt the tears well up in her eyes as she tried to control the searing pain that was spreading like wildfire throughout her lower body. If you want to live, you will tell me all about your father and his whereabouts, he said gruffly and held her by the scruff. Never. Dad is out of town, but when he comes back tomorrow, he is going to slice you in half once I tell him that you punched me, Sarada groaned as Naruto ignored her and slapped her face. That is no way to talk to your elders. No doubt that you look remarkably similar to your father, but there is something about you which just doesn't sit right with me. You said Shan-Naro. You have no right to be using that catchphrase. Have some respect for the dead, will you? He growled as Sarada wore a look of rage. How dare you? Mom isn't dead, you psychopath. She's alive and well and awaiting Dad's return tomorrow. I'm just having a sleepover with Choco in Irika-sensei's house, she hissed as Naruto's eyes nearly popped out from his mask. What did you just say? Your mother is Sakura Haruno? And she is alive and well? And waiting for Sasuke's return. Deathstroke looked incredulous at the raven-haired girl who just turned away. I take lies regarding Sakura very personally, young lady. Unless you plan on pissing me off even further, I suggest that you start bleeding the truth. I swear to you I'm not lying, she sighed. Deathstroke slowly scrutinized Sarada's features and mannerisms again, and as time waned, the pieces began to fall in place. This girl was Sakura and Sasuke's daughter, but he watched Sakura die in his arms 5 years ago. Was this whole thing a dream? A far-fetched hallucination which preyed on his deepest regrets and fears? Maybe he was in a coma. No, Naruto knew that this was reality, and somehow, Sakura had come back to life and married Sasuke. Naruto handcuffed Sarada's hands together and slung a cross on his shoulder. Take me to your mother and I will let you go. I have no business with you. And if I refuse, then you can watch me drag the rest of your friends out here and cut off their heads one by one, just as I did to Irika. Your call, Sarada, Naruto said as she just looked helplessly at the dark room where Choco was sleeping peacefully. Eventually, Sarada closed her eyes and sighed. Fine, but please don't hurt anyone else, and you have to promise not to harm Mom. Promise me that. Sarada wiped the hot tears that were streaming down her face. Naruto looked hesitantly at Sarada and dried her eyes gently with a piece of gauze from his utility belt before giving a silent nod. Yes, I promise not to lay a finger on your mother. Naruto handcuffed Sarada's hands together and slung her across her shoulder without any resistance, but he did admit that he found her mildly terrified visage to be quite pitiful. He shrugged it off and called Jade, who was busy burying the corpses of Yamato and Sai at the outskirts of Konoha. Jade? Come in, Jade. Naruto spoke through his inbuilt communication earpiece. Jade stopped her shoveling and picked up the walkie-talkie in irritation. Yes, Naruto? Do you need me to bury their pet animals as well? Since Jason and I have been doing nothing but playing Undertaker, she said irately, but Naruto wasn't in the mood for her petty grouses. I'm sorry for assigning you both to graveyard duty, but you can stop now. Listen, I need Jason and you to infiltrate the village and head to your respective battle stations, but do not engage in battle unless necessary, because I need you both to be at full strength when Sasuke arrives. Tell Jason to set up a sniper at position Delta. I want you to be shadowing me and act as the eyes at the back of my head. It's 0600 hours now, so make sure you guys reach your respective destinations by 0700 hours, Naruto instructed the Vietnamese assassin, who nodded and cut the line. She walked back to Jason, who had a look of satisfaction on his face as he scooped the last pile of soil onto the barely visible bodies. Naruto wants you to set up a sniper at Delta, but you are not to engage in battle until further instructions have been given. Geez, I sound like such a mindless soldier when I put it that way, Jade laughed and tossed the Red Hood his duffel bag. Actually, you sound more like a little parrot than a soldier. Get your stuff and heave your skinny ass to the village before the boss gets pissed. Jason snorted and started walking ahead while Cheshire gathered her belongings. Sarada fell asleep on his shoulder as Naruto quietly made his way to the Uchiha household. The house was built on a gentle rise that sloped gradually away on every side, in front to the wide plain, dotted with huge gum trees and great gray box groves, and at the back, after you had passed through the well-kept vegetable garden and orchard, to a long lagoon, bordered with trees and fringed with tall bulrushes and waving reeds. Naruto gently nudged the little girl awake with a shrug before setting her down in front of the pond. Sarada stifled a yawn before perking up as the feeling of returning to her home excited her. Stay here while I talk to your mother, Naruto told her and rapped on the front door of the Uchiha household. Sarada's heart began pounding against her chest, as the mental image of Iruka's decapitation was still fresh in her head. He had promised not to harm her mother, but there was no telling whether the masked mercenary would honor his end of the bargain in return for leading him here. Naruto tapped his foot impatiently as he heard the sound of footsteps growing louder and closer before a familiar sight greeted him. Naruto's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets and his mouth would have reached the cobble ground if it weren't for his mask. He was utterly shocked and he could not believe the sight in front of him. His ex-wife was clearly alive and healthy and she hadn't aged much since her presumed death. He longed to caress her face with his gloved fingers, trace those luscious lips and certify that this wasn't just another hallucination. Sakura on the other hand tackled him to the ground and pressed a kunai against his throat, although she did not know that her weapon could not penetrate his armor. "Who are you and why have you come here?" Sakura said in threatening voice as Naruto snapped out of his reverie and gripped her wrist. Sakura. It's been 5 years. Is that any way to greet your old fiancé? By knocking him to the ground and pressing a kunai against his throat? Tell me, when did things so south between us? Naruto said calmly as Sakura's jade orbs widened and she dropped her kunai in shock. Naruto? No. You're lying. Naruto disappeared 5 years ago after a mission, and how do you know where I live, you fraud? Sakura threw a punch across his face and sent him rolling across the lawn, much to Sarada's delight. Naruto slowly picked himself up and removed his mask. Sakura lowered her fighting stance and she felt butterflies in her stomach. It's not possible. Naruto, is that really you? Damn right it is, Haruno, Naruto replied coldly and rubbed the spot where Sakura's fist had connected. Sakura just shook her head in disbelief and opened her arms for a hug. It's been so long, Naruto. How have you been? Cut the crap, Sakura. You are supposed to be dead. I watched you die in my arms 5 years ago during that mission with Kakashi and the whole village mourned for you. And now, you act as if nothing has ever happened between us, the engagement, Sasuke's revenge and even the relationship we had. Naruto burst out in anger as the color in Sarada's face slowly drained. Naruto, please listen to me. I was framed. But she was cut off as Naruto grabbed Sarada by the scruff and tossed her at her feet. Sarada. What happened? You were supposed to be at Iruka's house together with Choco. Sakura yelled and quickly broke her handcuffs and removed the scotch tape from her mouth. Mom, this man killed Iruka and he threatened to kill all my friends if I didn't bring him to you. I'm really sorry. Sarada's voice started trembling as she just collapsed into her mother's arms. Naruto, you bastard. You killed your old teacher, the very one who showed you the meaning of friendship, and then, you attacked her? What has gotten into you? Sakura yelled at the blonde mercenary. You weren't framed. You lied to me and staged your death. I had a hunch that this was the case after Iruka didn't want me to find out that you were alive after all. In addition, he knew all along that you were still alive all along. In fact, the whole damn village probably does. You conspired with them to frame me and get me exiled. I think I'm beginning to see the whole picture clearly now, Naruto said quietly. Please answer my 2 questions and I will leave Sarada and you alone. After all, I made a promise to your daughter and a mercenary never goes back on his word. Sakura just turned away and stood in front of Sarada. No. You killed Niji and you hurt Kaka-sensei as well. I can't forgive you for that. This village has been rocked ever since you resurfaced as this masked mercenary and began hunting down hidden leaf shinobi. Do you know how many men we have lost because of you? She looked angry with him. I really don't give a shit because they were in my way and I was just doing what any other normal mercenary would do. So are you going to answer my questions or not? Go ahead and oblige your ex-fiancé, it's the least you can do after you ruined his life. He sneered and wore back his mask. Mom, please answer his questions because he has a point. I struck a deal with him and if he intends to honor his word, so will I. Sarada sighed to Sakura, who just ruffled Sarada's hair and turned back to Naruto. First, I want the reason why you faked your death and how it relates to the village's plan. Secondly, why didn't you come and look for me if you knew that I was missing? I thought that you and I were supposed to get married. He sighed and sat down on a chair. Sakura chewed her lip and clenched her fists. She couldn't face him like this, no. She felt as if that she would lose all her honor if she revealed the brutal truth to him, but this man was the man she used to love. He sacrificed so much for her and yet she broke his heart. Naruto, I started cheating on you with Sasuke after we got engaged. He wasn't planning to kill me and he told me that he wanted me to help him repopulate his clan. At first, I thought he was crazy and I wanted to tell you, but one night, he sneaked into the village and seduced me in my own apartment. You would argue and say that he isn't capable of such actions, but believe me, he made me fall in love with him all over again. Sasuke told Tsunade that he wanted to come back and marry me, but she opposed the idea. She didn't want to hurt you, Naruto, but she couldn't have the Sharingan in the hands of another village as well, Sakura muttered as Naruto remained silent while the feeling of apoplectic anger grew inside of him. The guilt was eating at me and I really couldn't face you whenever we would talk about moving in together. I loved you so much, but I also loved him, Naruto. I never wanted to hurt you and we were going to get married, but he caught me in a vulnerable state and Naruto put up his hand to stop her. Thank you, and I guess that you faked your death and made it look as if I was the one who failed to protect you. So you go running back to Sasuke after he fucks you a few times and tell you that he wants to use you as his baby machine? I just lost all respect for you as a shinobi and an individual. Your unscrupulous behavior disgusts me and I'm glad that Sarada gets to know the real Sakura. I'm sorry that you have a disgraceful mother and a selfish father, Sarada, but if you ever decide to leave this shit village and seek to become a real warrior, feel free to look for me, the mercenary said pointedly and turned to leave the two girls. Sarada felt her mouth go dry and she continued staring at the back of Naruto, who was calmly making his way out of the Uchiha compound. Where do you think you're going, Naruto? I think it's only fair that you tell me how you became this hired killer and what your real purpose is. Sakura frowned as Naruto paused and just gave a condescending chuckle. I go by Deathstroke now, lady. And I don't give information for free unless you're a paying client. As for my purpose, he is about to arrive in a minute now, he mused and glanced at the horrified visage of Sakura. You're crazy if you think that you can kill him. My husband will tear you to shreds. Sakura yelled at him. Deathstroke was about to give a scathing reply when his walkie-talkie started vibrating. He picked it up and answered it. Yes. The target has entered the village and he is approaching your location. What do you want us to do now, Naruto? Jade whispered as she silently saw the walking figure of Sasuke walking through the throngs of people en route to his house. I want Jason and you to buy me some time and take out their reinforcements while I take Sasuke head on. As soon as you've disposed of them, feel free to help me take down the man who has been the reason for the formation of our team. Obviously, we are going to help you take out this lunatic, she scoffed. One more thing, Cheshire. Try not to get killed. I don't want to have to explain to Zaydana why I'm returning to Gotham alone, he chuckled and cut the line. Naruto took a deep breath and waited for Sasuke at the entrance of the compound, but to no avail. Naruto furrowed his eyebrows and slowly walked out onto the streets before he felt a sharp pain in his lower abdomen. He looked down to see the bloodied tip of a katana emerging from the front of his armor and he coughed out some blood before drawing his Prometheum sword and slashing behind him. Sasuke removed his sword and dodged gracefully before flicking the blood of his katana. Sasuke, I was worried that you had stood me up. I see that you're still as vicious as ever, Deathstroke chided him and pointed his sword towards the onyx-haired shinobi. Naruto, you shouldn't have showed your face in this village again. You have no purpose or use for the village. Was killing your friends really the best you could do to vent out your frustration on us? You're pathetic, Sasuke said calmly. And you're still deluded. My only purpose here is to put an end to your miserable life. I always thought that we were friends and you would never go so far as to turn the whole village against me, but I guess I was wrong. You haven't changed one bit anyway. No doubt you're a formidable opponent, but beyond that, you are not even worth the dirt on my shoe. Naruto grinned and charged towards Sasuke. They were equally matched and neither could land a hit on each other as the sounds of metal clashing filled the air. Naruto got the upper hand and made a gash on Sasuke's chest while the latter stabbed him in the chest. Sasuke winced in pain as he gingerly touched the bloody wound that made a diagonal mark on his chest. Get up and stop screwing around. Show me what you've really got and give me a good fight. Naruto jeered at Sasuke, who merely smirked and sheathed his katana. Naruto, looks like you've grown stronger but barely. I wouldn't want to waste my chakra on a pathetic has-been like you, but I can't let you leave this village alive after you have found out my secret. Talk all you want, but I'm not going to go down easily, and I'm just sympathetic that Ataka's efforts will be in vain after I kill you. Tsunade might get pissed, but I don't care because Sarada has already awoken the Sharingan and she will be the right one to repopulate the clan, and not her miserable bitter father, Naruto said, and Sasuke grit his teeth in anger. Do not bring my brother into this. His sacrifices are not something you can so casually pass judgment on. Sasuke's voice rose, and in a blink of an eye, appeared behind Naruto and slashed his back with his katana. Naruto coughed out a wad of blood and dropped to his knees as the blade managed to perforate his Kevlar armor and leave a deep cut across his back. He clenched his fists and drew his twin Berettas, emptying their magazines on Sasuke, who melted them to sludge with a fireball jutsu. I guess guns are too slow to work on someone as fast as him. I need to come up with a strategy, but his thoughts were interrupted as Sasuke sent him crashing against the wall with a swift kick to the ribs. Naruto grunted in pain as Sasuke slowly walked towards him and pointed the tip of his katana at his face. You really have grown pathetic, Naruto. Looks like you've sealed off your chakra and consigned yourself to a life of a regular civilian. I still can't comprehend how someone in your state could have taken down Neji and Kakashi. No matter, I'll show you the error of your ways and maybe teach you to mind your own damn business, Sasuke said coldly and prepared to decapitate the mercenary. Sarada winced and turned away to avoid witnessing a potential gruesome death at the hands of her father when she heard the villagers gasping. Curiosity got the better of her and she slowly walked out of the pillar where she hid. She could not believe her eyes as she saw Naruto's gloved hand gripped onto Sasuke's katana just as it was about to complete its full swing. What? I can't seem to move it. Sasuke growled and tried to pry it from his gloved grip, but Naruto increased his pressure on his grip and finally shattered the blade into 1,000 pieces. Taking advantage of Sasuke's surprise, he quickly sent the shinobi sprawling with a hard crack to the jaw courtesy of his heavily padded elbow. You caught my blade with one hand with such speed that it should have cut your hand in half, and yet, you barely bleed. Sasuke narrowed his eyes and got up again. It's true that I don't have my chakra anymore and you probably outmatch me in skill and speed, but there is one thing that you probably don't have, which is the readiness to stake your life in this battle. Naruto declared and regained his fighting stance. Sasuke scoffed and threw the hilt of his katana away. I guess you haven't changed your penchant for running your mouth with empty words, Naruto. Sasuke closed his eyes and activated his Mangekyo Sharingan, but he frowned and did a backflip as a bullet whizzed through the air and narrowly missed the target. You weren't kidding when you said that he had a sixth sense, Jason mused and emerged from the shadows with Cheshire in tow. You idiot. I told you not to come out until I gave you the signal. Naruto sighed. Interesting, none of them have any chakra, so I can't read their movements. No matter, if they aren't shinobi, they have no chance of defeating me, Sasuke thought and concentrated his chakra to create his Susanoo. Purple waves of chakra began encircling Sasuke and they began to take the form of a gargantuan skeletal form of a humanoid, with the user safely within its ribcage. Naruto cursed and turned to his two teammates. Whatever you do, make sure that you don't get hit by those black flames, because those flames can't be put out by normal means and will only cease once you've been reduced to nothing but ashes. If only your clothes gets hit, take it off immediately, he said in a low voice as Susanoo began hurling balls of black flames towards their hiding spot. Stop hiding, Naruto. "You're wasting my time," Sasuke boomed as Susanoo destroyed another shop lot. Naruto jumped out and drew his sword and nodded at Cheshire. "I'll take Sasuke in the right arm. You concentrate on keeping the left one at bay while Jason will be applying pressure onto the center of the Susanoo. We only have one chance, so buy me enough time to get close to him." Susanoo aimed a punch at Naruto, but the giant fist was blocked by Naruto's sword. He proceeded to parry the fist away and slice at the wrist. Meanwhile, Jade nimbly dodged the beast's crushing blows and hacked at the arm with her own katana. Susanoo sent Naruto to the ground with a forceful punch as the chakra beast continued pummeling the mercenary. Naruto coughed out another gob of blood as he rolled away before the purple fist connected with the ground again. He picked up his sword and began slashing at Susanoo's arm until he could see visible cracks appearing. "Those fools. Susanoo can't be heavily wounded by attacks using basic swords and katanas," Sasuke sneered and made Susanoo bat Jade away with another sweeping fist. "I have to get closer," Naruto muttered, but his eyes widened as Susanoo formed a sword around its palm and stabbed Deathstroke through the chest. "Naruto!" screamed Jade as Susanoo pounded her to the ground with ease. Naruto gave a hidden smirk before attaching an ultrasonic bomb on Susanoo's arm without Sasuke's realization. "Nice shot, Sasuke. I wonder how long I still have to live before I bleed to death," he said aloud as Sasuke merely instructed Susanoo to twist its blade that was still in Naruto's body. Naruto clenched his teeth in pain as the chakra sword began severing his organs. He glanced at the bruise and battered Cheshire before activating the ultrasonic bomb. "Jade. The acoustic filter." Naruto yelled at the assassin, who nodded and slowly activated her protective earplugs. Ultrasonic waves having a frequency of 20 kHz were emitted from the bomb, and within seconds, Sasuke began to stagger and his ears began to bleed. "A sound jutsu? No, it can't be." Sasuke growled and began gripping his head as the nauseous feeling began taking over him. His eardrums were bleeding profusely and were close to bursting. "Beauty of not knowing about modern weapons," Jason said before firing a warhead grenade using an RPG from his hiding place. Susanoo put up both its hands to block it, but the grenade managed to pierce the weak points which had been created by both Naruto and Jade. A massive explosion, which caused a minor tremor, flooded the vicinity as Susanoo was destroyed while Sasuke was flung to the ground. Crimson liquid began streaming down his face as Sasuke slowly got up. Naruto struggled to stay on his feet due to the deep wound that Susanoo had made, but his accelerated healing factor aided his recovery. "Such underhanded tactics do not impress me, Naruto. I now realize why you allowed yourself to be stabbed so easily. It was so you could get near enough to execute your attack. However, you're going to bleed to death before you can land another blow on me. Susanoo made sure to aim near your vital organs," Sasuke said and charged towards Naruto, but he had to dodge Jade's kick and sent Jason staggering with a punch to the face. "You little fucker." Jason cursed and swung another punch at Sasuke, who sidestepped him and calmly tapped his shoulder before stepping back. Jason suddenly found himself bound to a tree by steel chains as vultures began to feed on him. He screamed in pain and trashed about, but to no avail as the excruciating pain continued on. "Genjutsu, but none of us has any chakra." Naruto glanced at Sasuke. "That's true, and that is also why I can only cast simple genjutsu on you three, since I can't manipulate your chakra," Sasuke chuckled as Jason dropped his gun and began trashing around in pain. "Leave him alone, you sick fuck." Jade yelled and slashed at him, but she soon found herself feeling drowsy as he brushed past her. Her vision became blurry as her surroundings became nothing more than abstract shapes floating around. Sasuke glanced at his other victim before whipping out his kunai and preparing to stab her between the eyes. Naruto barely pushed Cheshire out of harm's way as the kunai pierced his breastplate. Sasuke narrowed his eyes, but he lost his vision momentarily as Naruto's fist came into contact with his face. Sasuke staggered back, but Naruto quickly grabbed him by his yukata and drove his fist into his nose. Sasuke stumbled, but Naruto's iron grip did not loosen and he sent another forceful punch, blistering the Uchiha's torso. The villagers couldn't believe their eyes as the mercenary was raining punches on one of their most powerful warriors. "His punches just grew a hell of a lot heavier and his speed is making it difficult for me to evade them." Sasuke breathed heavily as he dodged another punch and slammed his leg into the side of Naruto's head. Naruto resisted the urge to drop to the ground and he finally sent his old teammate crumbling to the floor with a vicious uppercut. Sasuke, this is the price you pay for underestimating me. It's a shame that you didn't know about my enhanced physiology, intellect, reflexes, and stamina. Now get up and show me what your eyes can do, he roared as he drew his pistol and began shooting the limp body of Sasuke. Naruto emptied the hollow magazines and slowly walked over to the motionless body. He gave it a little kick but there was no response. Damn that son of a, he stopped halfway as the bloodied body slowly vanished into thin air. Did you really think that I was going to just lie down and let you shoot me? Have you become so inept that you can't even tell that you've been fighting an illusion for all this time? Sasuke appeared behind Deathstroke and folded his arms. He slowly turned around but he dropped his pistols as the bloodied bodies of his two accomplices lay behind Sasuke. Naruto felt his mouth go dry and he drew his sword once more. What did you do to them? I swear, I will rip off your fucking head if you have killed them, he yelled and charged towards Sasuke who simply vanished into thin air and appeared on a tree branch. They were weak and as such, have to suffer the consequences of sticking their noses where it doesn't belong. You brought death upon them and now, I wonder if their restless souls will haunt you as much as Jiraiya's. Sasuke gave a maniacal grin but his smile slowly turned into a frown as he saw Naruto put the gun to his stomach. This is a genjutsu, Sasuke. I can't dispel it by normal means since I have no chakra left. So, the only way for me to break it is by evoking a severe sense of shock or pain to the system. Nothing like a little lead to wake me up from my slumber, he grinned and shot himself. Naruto hacked and dropped his gun as blood began seeping through his armor. The dark red liquid stained his gloved hand as he adjusted his utility belt. Sasuke growled and darted towards the occupied mercenary. What use is there if you are already on the brink of death? Deathstroke remained calm and raised the sword above his head, its blade held an evil glint. As metal prepared to meet steel once more, the sound of gunshot rang through the air. Sasuke's red orbs widened as the bright red spot at the middle of his white yukata began to increase in size. The circular blood stain began stretching across the fabric as Naruto turned to see Jason's half-conscious figure, which was propped against the wall with a sniper in his arm. Well, sorry boss, but I guess I missed his heart. He banged me up pretty good, Jason gave a drunken drawl before swaying and ultimately dropping to the ground with an audible thud. No, no, no. Don't you dare die on me, Jason. Naruto shouted as Sasuke executed some hand signs before he could reach Jason. Fire style, Phoenix fireball. Countless fireballs began raining on Jason before another deafening explosion engulfed the area. JAS. Jason. Naruto coughed and tried to blow away the smoke but Sasuke widened his eyes and placed his hands together. This is the end of the line for you, Naruto. I'll send you to the deepest pits of hell. Manga Kyushari non, Amaterasu. Sasuke grit his teeth as black flames began to engulf the masked mercenary. The pitch-black flames licked greedily at his armor much to Sasuke's delight, but he dropped on one knee as his right eye began to bleed. The technique usually guaranteed death for the victim but not without a price, which was the overexertion of the use of his Sharingan. Sasuke's eyes widened as he saw Naruto still standing tall, even though he was bathed in the fires of hell. It's impossible. Amaterasu burns everything in its path until it is reduced to ashes. Why won't you just die already? Sasuke roared and continued nursing his right eye. Naruto silently thanked the nth metal, which made up 60% of his suit. This metal protects the wearer from elements and speeds the healing of wounds, increases their strength, and protects them from extreme temperature. Although the flames were slowly eating through his armor, the ridiculously amount of heat had been partially negated and his suit was helping to increase the speed of the healing of the burns. Why won't I just die? To answer your question, it's because I haven't completed my mission yet, he chuckled and picked up his sword. 10 years of friendship and this is how you fuck it up? Have all those years together mean nothing to you? I was willing to chase you to the ends of the world to bring you back home and you bite the hand that feeds you. Was that how your brother felt when you tried to take his head? You're nothing but a selfish psychopath. Naruto sneered at him. Sasuke trembled with fury and slowly formed his lightning blade on his right hand. You think that I wanted you to find me? Sakura wanted to find you as well. She was crazy enough to forgive you, but I know the real reason behind her actions, Naruto retorted and pointed his sword at the blinding figure in front of him. Sasuke glanced at the still-burning mercenary and dashed towards him with never-seen-before tenacity and animosity. Naruto took a small step back and gripped his sword with both of his hands and positioned it to his side, a stance perhaps executed in hopes of splitting the Sharingan user open like a goose. The sound of flesh tearing and bones breaking filled the air, accompanied by the acrid smell of charred flesh as the dust encasing the two warriors slowly cleared. "Dad!" Sarada timidly called out and approached them step by step. "Sarada, come back here now. It's too dangerous," Sakura screamed at her daughter. Naruto shivered as the lightning blade had perforated his armor and managed to impale right through his vital organs. He felt his breathing become more labored and difficult, but nothing could surpass the searing pain that slowly seeped through his body. Blood was slowly trickling down his mouth and stained his orange mask purple while his navy blue suit sported a large crimson spot. "I told you, Naruto. You're still weak and you will never beat me in a fight," Sasuke whispered into his ear as he slowly plunged his lightning blade deeper into his chest. A gut-wrenching sound was heard as bone separated from tissue. Driving through his heart and lungs, Naruto cried out in agony as the searing pain dominated all his other senses. He grasped at his chest involuntarily and dropped to his knees. "Arrogance and overconfidence usually leads to your downfall," Naruto wheezed before activating the shock mechanism in his suit. His suit began to crackle as Sasuke was soon electrocuted by millions of volts, severing his nervous system and scorching his internal organs. Naruto proceeded to pull him into a hug, although that meant pushing the blade further into his body. Sasuke was utterly stunned as he felt himself being crushed by his embrace. "Jade, take the shot!" Naruto yelled at the assassin, who picked up his pistol from the ground and aimed the barrel at the back of Sasuke's head. "You know the impact that this pistol of yours has? The bullet will hit you too after exiting his skull. It might find its way in the middle of your eyes," Jade said quietly. "I really couldn't give a damn about that right now, Cheshire. This is the only option that we have left, so I need you to pull that trigger. This fire has already eaten through my suit and is burning away my flesh, while my vital organs have been severed. One more bullet to the head wouldn't hurt me," he muttered as his vision started to blur, but he caught a glimpse of Sarada's frightened expression before he briefly closed his eyes. "Sarada, you will probably hate me for killing your father, but you must know that long ago, I used to be his best friend and was engaged to your mother. You could have been blonde and even prettier, but your mother betrayed me to run away with your father. Whether you want to believe me or the lies that your mother has been telling you is entirely your decision, but just remember, the choices that we make will define who we are," Naruto told the little girl slowly before turning back to Jade. "Jade, just go ahead and fucking blow our brains out already. Father never had any best friends. The only friends that he had were Yugo, Suijutsu, and Karen. That's what mother told me before. I know that he may have wronged you in the past, but please don't kill him. We barely see each other, and to think that I'll never see him again." Instantly, a shot rang out. A low guttural groan was heard from Sasuke as the bullet exited his head as fast as it had entered and finally settled permanently in between Naruto's eyes. Naruto felt the air leave his chest and he fell to the ground along with the lifeless body of Sasuke. Grasping for air, he coughed and tasted blood on his tongue. Staring out through blurry eyes, the last thing before his world suddenly went black was his teammates' frantic motions and Sakura running towards him. Laying the clip in front of her, Cheshire watched a pool of blood grow and encircle the spot where Sasuke lay. Weak and disoriented, she laid her head on her arm and closed her eyes. "We need to help him now, Jade. He is barely alive, and if we don't get him to the nearest hospital." Jason's voice trailed off as he gently carried Naruto bridal style and approached Sakura. "Excuse me, but this man needs medical attention. Could you please show us to the nearest hospital?" Jason frantically asked her. Sakura shifted nervously and closed her eyes. "I'm sorry, but I can't help traitors." "What? You little bitch, have you no mercy for the wounded?" he upbraided her in rage. "He killed my husband and my friends. Do you really expect me to let this killing machine loose again?" she screamed in frustration as Sarada gently placed a small hand on her mother's waist. "Please mother, we don't just leave our friends out to die. Especially one who used to be your fiancé and father's best friend," she mumbled, earning equally shocked looks from the trio. Sakura stifled a sob before pulling her daughter in for a hug. "He told you, didn't he, That idiot. It was never my intention to drive him to his own demise, she sobbed. I don't actually know the whole story, but I think that you still have a choice to make things right with him. He killed father, but your father deserved it. Hell, your mother stabbed him in the back like a typical Gotham thug. This is none of our concern, but from what he told me, he never stopped loving you. That's why he was so hell-bent on returning here. He sought to exact revenge on that man for killing you, but apparently, you played him out, you harlot, Jade cut in coldly. Mother, this man. He needs immediate medical attention. Sakura dried her eyes before gesturing for them to follow her to the hospital. Jason and Cheshire exchanged gratified looks and watched the determined little girl race alongside her mother en route to their destination. Naruto, please hang on because I will save you. I owe you an apology for hurting you so much, Sakura thought to herself and burst through the white doors of the hospital. This is amazing. I have never seen anything like him before. The cells in his wounds are regenerating at a rapid rate while the red blood cells are clotting at an equally astonishing speed. What happened to him? Sakura murmured as she dabbed a cotton ball against a mean-looking laceration across his chest. Jason and Cheshire exchanged a skeptical glance before the assassin decided to answer her question. Naruto met someone from our world, and that someone managed to pass on his genes to him. If that is even possible. Sakura opened her mouth to speak, but Jade merely turned away and continued her nap. If you're asking whether you can find this someone, he's already dead, she shrugged. Sarada quietly watched her mother patch up the resting blonde, her eyes following the movements of the scalpel and tweezers. She felt hollow and sad, but strangely, the feeling of resentment towards Naruto for the death of her father was void. Sure, she loved her father, but he was hardly ever around, and when he was, he preferred to be cooped up in his room, wallowing in the depths of his despair and planning. She wanted to be mad at the mercenary, but she just couldn't find the feelings as she realized that the emotional attachment that she had with Sasuke was not as deep as she thought it to be. Was this your mission all along? To kill my husband and leave our family in despair? If it was, then congratulations, Sakura's voice echoed in the silent operating room. The two Gotham representatives maintained their hardened look until Jason cleared his throat. We are getting paid for our troubles, so we are just doing business with Naruto. However, I think you had it coming, lady. Did you really think that your crime would go unpunished? That nobody will step up to bring you to justice? To make you pay for what you did, he sneered as Sakura clenched her fist. Just shut up. You know nothing about what happened between us, so you have no right to be throwing your words so freely, she retorted. I don't mind teaching you a hard lesson in manners when you've finished up with him. Jason reached for his handgun until a weary sigh from the bed drew everyone's attention to the heavily bandaged figure. Stop acting like a 12-year-old, Jason. For gosh sakes, Sakura, stop harping about the past. You damn well knew that I was going to return and find out about your little secret, Naruto drawled and slowly sat up. Sarada avoided his piercing stare and shifted nervously in her seat. Sakura put her hand on her hip and continued sponging his forehead. She took one look at his solemn visage before dropping the sponge and wrapping her arms delicately around his injured frame. Jade clicked her tongue and motioned to the crime lord, but he calmly held her back and gesticulated for her to remain in her seat. Naruto, I'm really sorry for what I did to you. I did it for the village. The Hidden Leaf couldn't afford to lose the Kekai Genkai to another village. I was reluctant to, but the sound of skin cracking against skin filled the air as Naruto's hand whipped across Sakura's pale cheek, leaving a visible red mark. Sarada jumped up angrily and prepared to land a punch across his face when she heard the sound of a trigger being loaded. Don't take another step closer to them if you know what's good for you, Jason nodded as he pointed the barrel of his gun in her direction. She stared at him wide-eyed as her hand slowly made it to her fire-red cheek. Enough with the lies and the bull crap. How much did Sasuke offer you in return for churning out kids? Naruto asked calmly. No response from the pinkette as she continued using her chakra healing on him. It wasn't about the money. So he did pay you after all. I'm sure it beats working overtime daily at the local hospital, Naruto snorted and dropped his head back against the fluffy pillows. Now that he had finally completed his mission, he didn't even feel like talking to Sakura. Why should he? She had lied and participated in this charade for years and couldn't even be bothered to apologize as soon as she saw him again. You know Sakura, I guess I won't split you in half like a Russian doll since you helped tend to my wounds and patched me up. Consider us even now your services for the sparing of your life. Actually, this little pathetic act of repentance is nowhere near enough to repay the suffering that you have caused me for all these years, but, I want nothing to do with you anymore so I can't be bothered to wait for you till you pay it off. Naruto said coldly before sitting up and walking over to his team. You two need medical attention as well and don't try to argue with me. That's an order, he briskly told his two teammates who exchanged a small smile with each other before allowing the pink-haired Kunoichi to heal them. Sarada felt the bench that she was sitting on sink lower as the blonde mercenary took his place beside her. She remained silent and just fiddled with her shuriken while keeping her head down. The bespectacled genin had no words to say to him. Would phrases such as, "I'll avenge my father," or, "I'll hunt you down next time," instill fear into him? Or would he just take it as another head to mount on his timber wall? Sarada, it's alright for you to hate me for what I did. I left you without a father now, Naruto said nonchalantly and turned to her. She took a deep breath and slowly faced him. I don't know what to feel right now. I feel as if it's my duty to avenge my father, but knowing what mother and father did to you, you are the real victim here, she replied quietly. Naruto cracked an amused grin before ruffling her short onyx hair much to her surprise. If you want to get stronger, here is a piece of advice for you, handed down from your deceased uncle Itachi. Hate the man called Deathstroke the Terminator and channel all that hate into your training and goals. Once you've felt that you are ready to avenge Sasuke, come look for me, or better yet, plan an ambush, he chuckled and gathered his belongings, leaving an open-mouthed little girl. What are you trying to say? That sounded as if you want me to try and take your head in the future, she blurted out as Naruto paused and gave a small shrug. I can't deny that, but you're the heir to the Uchiha household, representative of the Mangekyou Sharingan and destined to be a very important person to this village, so it's important that you fulfill your potential. Jason and Jade thanked Sakura and followed their captain to the exit of the hospital, but their exit was halted by Sakura, who stood in Naruto's way and opened out her arms to him. Naruto, I have no right to ask of you this, but would you like to give it another go? I do still love you, and since you've already taken a liking to Sarada, it makes things easier, won't it? Sakura looked dolefully at him. Naruto pursed his lips before calmly brushing past her and swinging open the hospital doors. I can't do that because I'm in love with another woman. Someone who is helping me clean up the mess I made in Gotham City. An enchantress whose code of justice and high integrity as a superhero prevents her from committing unscrupulous acts unlike you. Besides, I always did prefer black hair to pink. A small smirk graced his lips before he disappeared into the busy streets of the Hidden Leaf village. I want both of you to wait for me at the entrance gate of the village. I still have one last person to visit, Naruto told them. Your village chief, right? The young-looking old hag, Jason sniggered as Jade rolled her eyes and nudged him. Naruto slipped past the throngs of jonin surrounding the Hokage building and knocked on Tsunade's door. The blonde Hokage looked up from her paperwork and sighed. Shizun, is that you? How is the situation regarding that brat and Sasuke? Who made it out alive? Surprise, Tsunade Baa-chan, came a smooth reply as Naruto, clad in his usual Deathstroke attire, strolled into her office and leaned against the door frame. Tsunade narrowed her eyes and took a deep breath. Naruto, I'm giving you 10 seconds to tell me why I shouldn't pound you to a pulp and throw you into a cell after you killed one of our most prized warriors? You have no business wreaking havoc on my village after your exile, she said in a dangerous tone as the masked mercenary gave a small chuckle and dropped his sword onto the ground. I'm not here to fight, Tsunade. Well, not anymore, at least because I've already completed my mission and exacted rightful payment for your crimes. Tsunade turned purple, grabbed him by his armor and pinned him against the wall. Rightful payment. I lost many good men and shinobi thanks to you, you filthy mercenary. Even killing you right here wouldn't be a punishment just enough for your heinous actions, she sneered and released him reluctantly. Naruto walked towards her and offered his hand. She looked wide-eyed at him and gave him an incredulous stare. What the hell do you think you're doing, brat, she thundered. This handshake is a symbol of gratitude for everything that you've done for me up until the Sasuke incident. I would like to believe that you spared a thought for your old friend when you kicked him out of his own family, but I don't know what to think of you now. I bear you no ill, Tsunade, because to be honest, that would be like bearing a grudge against my mother. He gave a small smile as Tsuan's hardened visage melted down to a softer and thoughtful one. I know that I killed many shinobi during my return, including my old friends, Niji, Sai and Yamato, but I would like to see to it that I receive my judgment in another life. Sometimes, even a mercenary can't help but feel compunction for those he killed, especially if he grew up with them. So before I go, I just wanted to say that I wish this village the best of luck and I hope that we may remain on civil terms, Naruto said and picked up his fallen sword. Tsunade remained silent before scratching her head and sent him flying out of her office with a punch to the face. Naruto rubbed his tender jaw as he caught a glimpse of Tsunade's weary face. I'll give you a 5-minute head start to leave the village and never return. Once the time is up, my Jonins and Umbu will be all over you and your slimy friends, she sighed and turned her back on him. Naruto picked himself up before giving a small laugh. Thanks, Granny Tsunade, and in return, I'll try not to kill more of your men. Never return to this village again under the penalty of death, she continued. Tsunade sunk into her chair and rubbed her temples with her fingers. She could hear the Kumtion from her room but knew that they had every right to be in a state of panic. Naruto had managed to do the unthinkable, kill Sasuke. His words rang in her ears and she had to admit that his diatribe contained a dint of truth in them. She had always been a mother figure to him and the Naruto she knew believed that the whole village was part of his family. To be honest, she couldn't fathom how she let the Uchiha dictate her decisions or even instill worry that he would settle down in another village where he would repopulate his clan. You could say that she had to break a few eggs to make an omelette, but right now, it was all for naught. Deathstroke silently surveyed the village from the top of a building which was buzzing after his showdown with Sasuke. He could see the other Jonins mourning and cursing after the discovery of Iruka's decapitated body in his garden while the rest of them were busy ushering the frightened villagers to safety. Admiring the view, Captain? You made quite a scene down there, Jason chuckled and stood beside him. You mean we made a scene down there, dumbass? Jade sighed and sat down on the ledge of the roof. Naruto remained deep in thought and did not acknowledge his teammate's presence until he stole a glance at the Uchiha household. Thank you for your help, Cheshire and Red Hood. As promised, the $10 million will be wired into your account once we head back to Gotham, but that aside, I would like to think that our time as a team was surprisingly fun, even if we did piss the hell out of each other frequently, Naruto told them and walked past them. You know, Naruto, I'm up for permanently joining, but Jade was cut off by a wave of a hand from the masked mercenary. Thanks for the offer, but I think it's time we all did a little something different from before. Plus, the three of us have different goals. Cheshire and her prerogative in Star City, Jason and his crime organization in Gotham, while I'm going to take my services elsewhere, Naruto nodded. Jade pursed her lips and stole a glance at Jason, who gave a little snort before shrugging. I don't really care about the plans that the both of you have. I prefer to work alone and I don't think that I could spend my entire life being your lackey, Deathstroke. There is only room for one boss in Gotham and it sure isn't you, Jason said simply. I have no interest in ruling over Gotham or being Batman's perennial target, so lose the attitude before you piss me off. That aside, we should get going now because we have to find a way to contact Zatanna for her to open a portal back to Gotham. I don't plan on being marooned here for the rest of my life, especially with a bounty on my head, Naruto snorted and started walking towards the village gates. And how exactly are we going to contact your beloved sorceress? Cheshire sighed dramatically as she wore her kabuki mask and picked up her pace. Naruto pulled out a map and pointed to a red cross marked in the middle of a forest. We are going back to my place, or at least the place that I used to occupy during my time here. It was the place where I first encountered Zatanna, so before I left Gotham, I told her to open a daily portal for this week to check if we were at the rendezvous point. I basically owe her a huge one for this favor, he explained as they exited the gates of the village. Jason shook his head in disbelief. Opening up an interdimension portal every day to check if we're ready to go back? That's just too much, and by that I mean, she must be pretty blinded to obey such a request from you. Naruto chose to ignore him as he stole a glance at his watch before turning to him. Could I have my detonator back now? Unless you want to have the satisfaction of more blood on your hands. He held out his gloved palm as Cheshire looked suspiciously at the mercenary. Am I the only one who is in the dark about what's going on right now? Jason snorted and tossed him the walkie-talkie before stuffing his hands into his pockets. I doubt that this is going to kill them, but it's probably strong enough to make them lose a limb or two. Naruto silently stared at the detonator briefly before letting a chuckle escape his lips. Since I'm already going to hell, might as well take a few of them with me. His thumb hovered above the button before pressing it with alacrity. Out on the rolling skyline, 50 miles away, there was a blinding flash, like sheet lightning, and a huge ball of varicolored fire belched upward, leaving a series of smoke rings to float more slowly after it. That fireball flattened, then spread to form the mushroom head of a column of incandescent gas that mounted to overtake it, engorging the smoke rings as it rose, twisting, writhing, changing shape, turning to dark smoke in one moment and belching flame and crackling with lightning the next. There was an enormous explosion. It was as though a fist of orange flame had decided to punch its way out of the Hokage building. Screams of terror rang from the village as several other explosions could be heard all over the village. Naruto threw the detonator to the ground and stepped on it before casually continuing his walk to the forest. Let's just say that she didn't expect Shizune to be armed and dangerous today, he told his two companions dryly as he recalled his plan of subduing her in the female's washroom and hiding a bomb underneath her kimono. Jason and Cheshire were lost for words before Naruto calmly pulled out his pistol and shot a patrolling Jonin point blank at his head. He was in our way and I'm just really overflowing with adrenaline from that explosion. If we're back before 1, I could rustle up some ramen. Just when I thought that you had made peace with the Hokage and the village, you decide to blow her up. Cheshire clicked her tongue as Naruto snorted in mock amusement. I have made peace with her. I like to believe that I have freed her from her regrets instead of letting her wallow in self-pity. That's the lamest explanation that I have heard from you to date. She slapped her forehead as Jason shook his head in disbelief. I actually have to concur with her this time, so try to refrain from spouting gibberish like that again. The both of them continued to argue about the validity of Naruto's statement, which descended into a relatively childish bickering regarding their respective idiosyncrasies. For the first time in a long while, Naruto didn't mind, as he was going to miss their company anyway. He had grown to tolerate their presence and might even consider them to be his friends, but he wasn't about to let them know. He took off his mask and took a long hard look at it before cracking a small smile. It might have been fate that Slade stopped him from committing suicide all those years ago, or it might have just been pure coincidence. Nonetheless, he was ready to gain redemption in life by becoming a notorious mercenary. The time spent with the both of them might be coming to an end, but his new life as the mercenary known as Deathstroke was just getting started. End. Thanks for watching.